of. I get Niia, yeah, but Niia.
Niia.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
I was trying to make sure if it was a stage name or a birth name, because it's a good stage name as well.
Thank you. No, it's a real name.
And you're from
Boston, originally from Massachusetts, yeah.
And what brings you to LA? Like, how does that start for you?
Well, I grew up right outside of Boston, and my mother was a classical pianist. So I did all the music, was in all the jazz bands, and then ended up in New York at New School Conservatory for jazz voice. I was in the jazz bubble, and was in New York for a few years, dropped out of my conservatory, because once I got to New York, all I wanted to do was play, you know. And then as I started, just writing my own music in New York, I realized a lot of the industry is in Los Angeles. So that's kind of how I migrated west and ended up there. So it was
like early 20s?
Mid-20s, I'd say.
Or is it that song I was just listening to?
Oh,
24?
yeah, 24.
Okay.
yeah, 24.
Okay.
That's the short version of it, yeah. But
Boston, New York, LA.
Yes.
And you've been touring since?
Kind of. I'm not the biggest tourer. I'm just starting to get used to playing out. I would do these kind of one-off shows, and I have really bad stage fright growing up because it was always just... I never really enjoyed being in front of a lot of people. And when I was young, we did a lot of jazz competitions, but that was really like technique based and accuracy. And it wasn't really about me holding the show together. There was less showmanship. It was more know your craft. So I did those kind of performances, but never kind of like Niia shows. And then as I started to become a solo artist, everyone was like, part of the gig is touring and doing these shows. And so I've done a couple little tours opening for some acts, and now I'm just starting to get my feet wet with solo shows and headlining shows, which is exciting.
That must be. I mean, last night at Shuba's, I went, and by the time you went on, it was pretty packed in there.
I know, pretty crazy,
which is really cool.
I know.
But that's not something you've been doing for a long time.
No, I've done a couple one-off shows, but this is going to be the beginning of a touring experience for me. I'm going to start touring more next year, maybe this fall, and maybe go to Asia, just really go for it. Because I love singing live, and, I realized it's not as scary as I thought, and making that connection with my audience, I think initially was very intimidating, just that how much power you have on stage is a lot.
Yeah.
And being an introvert, it's a lot of pressure. And I just want to hit my notes, but I'm realizing, my fans are here to connect with me, and it's kind of rude if I just close my eyes and don't acknowledge them. So I'm slowly getting more comfortable and just really grateful that they're there for me. So I'm at least opening my eyes and looking out now. So I'm excited.
I mean, that's wonderful. And it's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
It's funny. I hear often a lot of musicians I work with and speak to that they're introverted, which is hilarious if you're going to be a musician who's not just like a studio musician who can kind of hide away.
Yeah.
That's like the ideal thing for an introvert who likes to play music. But someone who plays shows, and now someone who tours, someone who has a strong social media presence. It's like, it's funny.
I know, it's so funny. And everyone says to me, why don't you create a character? Why don't you make an alias? And what's even more ironic is I really can't be anyone but myself making music. It just doesn't feel right. I have to write about things I've gone through. And sometimes I'm like, shit, this is literally what's happened to me in my life. I can't believe I'm sharing it with a bunch of strangers. But I don't know, maybe in my next album I'll be like a Formula One driver or something. But
do you like Formula One?
I do.
Me too.
I'm kind of obsessed.
Me too.
I'm kind of jealous.
Did you see the last race?
I did.
Why'd you say it like that?
I don't know. I'm like a Yuki fan. I think he's.
Oh, okay.
I think he's just reckless. I don't know. I love him.
You like reckless. You like it when people are reckless going 200 miles.
Yeah, I don't like the fan favorites.
I completely agree. So for the spectacle and for history, it's fun to see Lewis Hamilton do what he does, except for this season, apparently.
Yeah, I know.
But it's the new cars. But I agree. I do like I almost enjoyed watching like Valtteri Bottas last year more than Lewis Hamilton because he always would come back from far behind, and
I know
it was more exciting. And
I think so too. And it's funny. I'll give you a little clue, but my next album I'm working on is going to be a little Formula One inspired.
Really?
Yeah.
Never heard a musician say that.
I know. It's
in fact, it's hard to find musicians that.
I know. Well,
like
I'm
it.
also kind of jealous that America is now kind of understanding Formula One because it's been huge forever, but now Netflix just did a whole series about it. So I'm like, no, I hope no one knows about it.
Oh, it's too late. They just added the new Las Vegas thing.
I know.
I knew that was going to happen 2 years ago when I heard they were
foresight.
adding Miami, and I was like, it's going to keep growing and more popular in America.
I know.
There's gonna be,
Do you think they're gonna regulate it where there's a certain amount you can spend on each car?
Yeah, I think they're starting to regulate it more now because they realize, just like a lot of other sports like baseball, when they don't have a salary cap, like the Yankees, what can happen?
Yeah.
This monopoly, which isn't fair.
Yeah,
at
and
all.
it's not fun to watch when the same three cars keep winning.
Haas and AlphaTauri always in the back,
I
and then
know.
Mercedes and Ferrari and McLaren and
I know.
Red Bull always in the front.
It's crazy.
Red Bull is exciting, but Max Verstappen has this punchable phase.
I know.
He drives me crazy. He's such a baby.
That's very true. I know.
Drives me crazy.
I know. That's so funny.
I'll take back the punchable face thing. He is kind of a baby. It's annoying.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I see it because it's high stakes and high pressure.
Yeah.
And they're also all very wealthy, which does something weird to you.
Totally.
And very famous in their world, and now more globally. But I still just can't excuse like poor character, and
I know. Well, it's a diva. I mean, it's also just they're treated like gods,
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so incredible. And it's funny. My next album is inspired by this old '70s movie where the leads of I'll tell you off mic.
Okay.
I guess I could tell you. I don't know, but it's about a Formula One driver in the '70s, and he thinks he's a god. And then he realizes he's not, he's just a normal person. And I kind of just was obsessed with it. But it's just so crazy. To me, it's the discipline. And like, I'm learning how to drive stick right now because if I'm going to make an album where it's influenced by all this car stuff, I might as well know how to drive a stick. That's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
But it's so hard. You just really have to focus and just kind of the discipline. It reminds me of the discipline when I was just studying jazz. Like, you just have to be on such a level, but also like you can't be an asshole. These kids they're also very young.
Very young.
Very,
Most
very
of them are
young.
younger than you and I. I'm 32.
Yeah, I'm in my early 30s too.
Right.
So it's just imagine being 22 and it's just insane.
It is insane.
But-
It is. What a weird segue. I did not
I know.
think.
Sorry. No.
no. I'm happy because I
obsessed.
never get to talk to people who
Yeah.
know these things. So it's exciting.
I know. My goal is just to play those like fancy dinners in Dubai and Monaco someday. You know.
I always say, like, I don't know how I would find myself in Monaco.
I'll get us there.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll come.
Right?
We'll come. We'll hang
I
out
know.
there. Or
We'll do it.
Singapore.
Yeah.
Singapore would be such a fun
Oh,
race,
that
the
would
night
be
race. It
amazing.
mostly rains.
I'm going to make a full kit, like a full fit, a full racing outfit for me. And then for my team, we'll all have jackets, so I'll have to get you one.
That's what I want to be for Halloween next year.
Ooh, I love that.
Because they make them like $150
so
for like
good.
these suits you could get. Yeah, that I could totally. After hearing you last night, like I've listened to your music leading up to this just to be more familiar with it, and I really like it.
Thank you.
It's interesting the most recent record compared to the last one that came out last June.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
But a good different.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of when people just keep putting out the same things.
I totally agree.
You have to grow. Everyone does. Grow it in a healthy, creative way.
Yeah.
So you already talked about the next one, which is
Yeah, sorry.
Formula One influence.
Got excited.
No, that's really that's such an interesting influence for
Yeah.
music, for jazz
Not
music.
necessarily. I mean, it will be. The goal is for every song to be able to drive to. Not necessarily
I like that.
race, but like, there's lots of different kinds of ways you listen to music in your car.
Yeah.
And I feel living in LA, I spend so much time in my car, and that's where I do the best listening to my mixes and stuff like that. So, yeah. Also, I just, love Formula One.
It's really exciting. And it is cool that there's more in America now, but I also know what that means. I know what America can do.
I know I know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I give it 5 more years and it is all these things are household names. People have them wearing the jerseys.
I know.
Which, I mean,
I have 5 years to complete this album. That's the goal. Okay.
I'm sure do you normally try to do like every 2-3 years?
Well, I usually go pretty slow because I believe in quality over quantity. But these days I'm trying to push myself to just go for it, especially if I have the inspiration, which I do. So it's like, just go for it. We can do it. And, using this ambient project that I just released and keeping the momentum, I think it's also important because these days it's so congested in music that having something that's out right now, it's nice to follow it up with something and just kind of keep the momentum going.
Right.
As long as it's not forced and you feel comfortable with what you're putting out. So.
Natural, yeah.
Yeah.
So this last one it's kind of like a intermediate one, like
yeah,
it's an ambient one.
It's almost like a side project, I'd say. And during the pandemic, this little label Off Air, this new label reached out to me because I was fooling around with those crystal bowls during the pandemic.
I remember you telling them that.
And I kept seeing all these holistic yoga girls doing it. And I kept watching them being like, what is this? Like, why is this a trend? Are these instruments? Are these just like hippie spa things? So I became obsessed with them. So I bought a set and just started fooling around. I was like, these are really cool. They almost sound like synths. And the tones of them are so low and the frequencies. And then I started doing some research on, the history of all the hertz and different chakras that they hit. And of course I was like, this isn't real. And then suddenly like my arm started to hurt when I would hit one specific bowl. And that was the arm I broke when I was little. And so actually realizing these bowls are supposed to trigger certain parts in your body and heal. And it really does. I really do believe it works. And so for me, I think Off Air saw me doing this and approached me and said, hey, would you be up for doing an ambient record? And, at the time I just released my last EP, the second album had come out, and the world was so loud, everything was happening that I just said, sure. I didn't really know what I wanted to say. So creating something that was more instrumental and a bit more expressive and in an experimental way felt right. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I was like, I'll take on this challenge. So it was something I didn't expect to do, but something I realize now I was desperately needing.
Yeah, it's really nice. I listened to the whole thing on the way here.
Thank you.
About a 45-minute drive, so it was perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. I'm a big fan of that type of music in general, and I do play it myself.
Incredible.
And so I can relate to that. And it is a time to feel a little present when you improvise.
Totally.
And you feel, I don't know what it is. I care and believe a lot in an Eastern way of doing things, a more natural way of doing things. I also appreciate a Western way. I do also appreciate science. But there is something very interesting going on when you have drones and certain frequencies that are sustaining a certain pitch for a duration. And sometimes what that ends up being is the resonant frequency of the length of the thing that's involved. It could have been your arm. Yeah. So if you said you broke your arm when you were younger? Yeah, my left arm
when I was little.
How did you break it?
I fell off a wall. Look, it's still not set right. See how weird it looks? I know.
That's crazy.
I know.
Wow. You just fell like a couple feet off a wall?
Yeah, I flew off a wall and then my arm was like the scarecrow.
Oh my God. You did a cast?
I had a cast, but they never set it right. So.
Did long-term effects at all from it?
Sometimes when I play the piano, I get a little tendinitis. But
it happens here too. I broke my wrist longboarding. And when I play guitar, it was brutal. I was going like 60 miles an hour. It was bad.
That's crazy.
Glad to be alive. Yeah. But playing bass and playing guitar, especially bass, longer neck, this starts to hurt. And when I do like workouts, when I do push-ups, I have to wear like a glove that has like a brace on it.
That's pretty cool though. The brace is pretty.
Yeah. I mean, it looks cool, but it's just like, you have these long-term effects. Breaking a bone is never good. No. It's never the same.
No, but ambient music helps it, right?
What I was getting to, like your arm, maybe you have a foot here. So that a foot is about, the frequency length of that is about, the pitch would be 1,130 feet, give or take. It's
crazy.
I teach this, so this is why I know
amazing.
It.
I love this stuff.
And so if you hit that pitch and then the octaves below it and higher than it, because whenever a note is struck, the attack of it vibrates going high in pitch equally as it does lower, but in octaves. And then harmonics above that.
Right.
So if it's at 1,130, I'm going to sound nerdy here.
No, I'm obsessed. Yeah,
cut in half to maybe 5,000, would be 565. cut that in half to 237.5,
Wow.
cut that in half to 119 to about, and cut that in half to about 59 and a half. So now we're going lower. So maybe the next one would be about 30 hertz and then 15 hertz, which we can't perceive anything below 30,
Right.
below 20 to be precise. So those lower notes in that octave, when you're rolling that, could be vibrating that in a way to where it could be soothing.
Yeah.
It could be peaceful. And it's so subtle. But if you do it
Totally.
long enough, it could build up within the room
Yeah.
and reinforce itself. It's totally possible.
I believe it. But my arm kept I kept feeling my arm a little bit, and I was like, "Whoa, frequencies are real."
They are. They are. And you hear it all the time when you listen to
Yeah.
music in your car and all of a sudden a certain note and your door is vibrating.
Totally.
Or your window is. Or something else
Totally, and
is.
also coming from live music, being in jazz ensembles, then switching to recorded music. Whenever we would be mixing, they would take out certain frequencies in my voice because it fills the bass frequency, and I'd always be like, "Why does this sound weird?" And it's because you can't have all the frequencies in all the same areas. So I'm now still learning how this works, of where you cut the frequencies of the highs and the lows. So it sounds the clarity's okay, but I'm like, not from my voice, please.
Yeah. It's tricky with human voice.
It is.
We're very good at recognizing human
Yeah.
voice. It is the only thing our ears technically developed to hear is human voice. It's why it's the shape of our ear shape is its shape because of the tone of our voice and pitch of it and the register of it, and vice versa. Our register is where it's at because of the shape of our ear.
It's so crazy. I didn't know that. Amazing.
Yeah. That's why our resonant frequency has a notch, like a boost, between like 1.5 and 4,000 hertz in our ears.
Wow.
So with that, that's where most of the ability to clearly hear human voice lies in speech.
Totally.
And that's why a lot of microphones gear that and they boost that.
Yeah.
Especially like the handheld dynamics used at a live record or performance like last night will boost that range because it's easier for our ears to hear speech.
Yeah.
And so because speech is so important to hear and we're so used to being able to communicate that way, I mean, music didn't exist in its normal form 10,000 years ago. The refrigerator didn't exist. The sound systems, these things didn't exist. So the only thing we had in nature were animals, a thunder, and your voice.
Wow.
So we developed to only really speak and hear that way.
Yeah.
That's why if you hear yourself or someone else singing and things are missing, you know right away.
Yeah.
You can instantly tell like something's not right.
Definitely.
It's unnatural feeling.
Yeah.
And you said it best, all these things coming together. Yeah, in physics, two things can't occupy the same space.
Yeah.
So once you have the higher frequencies of the upright bass, the guitar, say you had a drum kit, the sample pad.
It's a lot going on.
Yeah, they start to get in each other's way.
Yeah.
And you have to start to, that's what equalization is for,
Yeah.
to start balancing stuff.
And I've really been trying to learn about it because I want to know the terminology. And also I've noticed, like, for someone who doesn't know musicianship or just doesn't understand what we're talking about, they'll be like, "Oh, I don't like this song," but they don't know why.
Yes.
And a lot of it's because of those little things that they could have cleaned up or something. Like my friends, when they listen to a demo of mine that's not mixed, not perfect or equalized, they're like, "It's okay."
Yeah.
Then I'll play them the same exact song when it's mixed. And they're like, "I love this. This is amazing." And it's literally just because of the levels of things.
Yeah, the balance,
know?
how they're panned across the stereo panorama.
Totally.
The levels of everything and the way the equalization is coming together on each track. I mean, that is where the importance and the beauty of artist and musician meets engineer.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about engineers of all backgrounds, not just in music production, but even the people electrical engineers who design these microphones and computer engineers and scientists who make these laptops and cameras, as it's a symbiotic relationship because we couldn't have this conversation if this technology didn't exist.
Very true.
And it's a really beautiful thing. And they're honestly extremely creative in their own way. They just use math, science, and logic to be creative.
Yeah.
Even the design of this, this cable doesn't need to be on the outside of this microphone.
Yeah.
It could be housed in the housing in it, but it looks cool. It's like That's an interesting design.
Yeah, just a choice.
Yeah, and the whole design of this doesn't need to be the shape it is, but it has a look to it.
Definitely.
And now that they've become the most popular microphone in the world because of podcasts.
People perform at these now. I see my friends holding them, and I'm like, okay.
They're really, really popular now. I mean, they've been legendary for a while in the audio production world.
Yeah.
Because of Michael Jackson. He sang Thriller using an SM7.
Amazing.
So they've been popular for 30, 40 years, but because of podcasting in the last 5 years, they've exploded.
Yeah.
Sure Microphones, which is located here in Niles, out north of Chicago, is probably making so much money now from podcasting.
No, but it's crazy just because, even with this ambient record, I've really started to embrace learning more about all these things we're talking about, because I think it's been a little intimidating for me, and I'm not good at math and science. I was more creative writing, art, music, the more, expressive stuff where it just comes off the cuff, and singing. And now I'm realizing how important, one, learning about it is, because then you can control things. And then also really everything is in the engineering, and if you perform something live, that's one thing. But if you're on your records, it can sound totally different, unless you're doing a live recording. And I would struggle early on because I was like, I don't like the way this sounds. It doesn't feel live enough, but I also then didn't like the recording sound either. So I had to it took me some time to figure out a place and a mix of how to get it where it felt good. And with ambient, it's all about creating this like landscape of sounds and little moods. And I think I kind of knew I wanted it to be very bass heavy. So that was also a really fun thing to try.
Why bass heavy?
I think I just love bass. I really am just obsessed with bass. And I think the tones, when you hear a bass just pluck a string, you're just like, whoa.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. And it's also very grounding. And for this ambient record, I kind of, I didn't initially pick like the ocean or a theme. It just kind of started happening where I knew I wanted piano, bass, voice to be used, and like a little percussive stuff and some harp. So I really just like the idea of a beautiful piano, like arpeggiated, and then with this like low, very grounding bass. It was kind of this like flighty, non-resolving type of high stuff with low bass that really kept you grounded, or kept making you feel like you're sinking in the water. So it's like sinking and then floating at the same time, or rising.
Covering the spectrum.
Yeah, totally.
Do you play bass at all?
No, I play piano. I wish I bought a bass, and I was like, I want to be the girl from the Talking Heads. I could do that. And then I bought one. And I was like, this is fucking hard. Even to just keep time. And then, and because I play the piano, my finger strength is pretty good. And I think I could get it. I just have to practice. It's just consistency.
That's all it is. I mean, you sing, so you have pitch recognition already, and you have a wonderful voice.
Thank you.
And then you play piano. How long have you been playing piano for?
Forever. I mean, I have a Chopin tattoo. My mom was a classical pianist. So. Yeah, Chopin's my favorite too.
We're nerds here.
Hey, I'm a nerd. I mean,
Formula One.
Yeah,
Hertz
Chopin,
and frequencies. Chopin.
Yeah, I'm sure there's more. But no, I started in classical piano because my mother was like a classical pianist, and I was the trouble student because I wanted to play everything but classical. But I loved Chopin, and I was the only one that stuck with it in my family. And then when I kept improvising, because I could play you a nocturne, but I'll mess up some of the time signatures and not really know what I'm doing, but I could still play it. So I have a really good ear. And then my mom was like, you know what? I'm going to put you in some jazz piano lessons.
We can be a little bit more yourself.
Totally. And then after that, my jazz piano teacher pulled my mom aside and was like, hey, can I talk to you? Nia's a pretty good jazz pianist, but she's an excellent singer. I'm going to put her in the jazz band, because he would make me sing along while I'm learning how to like walk a little bass on the piano. So that's where the Chopin tattoo originated. My mom.
How old were you when this was happening?
We had to play piano when we were little. So probably I started around like 7. Really
that's a
young.
great time to start.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably frustrating when you're that age. You're like, I want to go do this, but...
Yeah. It wasn't, because I was a kind of a loner when I was little, really introverted. So piano was kind of my only friend for a while. There's just a point where it gets hard. Like you get to intermediate piano and you're cruising, and then all of a sudden you become advanced, and then you have to practice.
A lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's when I wanted to play anything but classical.
And when did you start getting into that more advanced place?
Probably around my sophomore year in high school, and that's when I started to transition to jazz piano. And then that was a quick life because I started singing a bit more. I always sang, but nobody really knew because I would wait for my family. My mom would go drive my sister to gymnastics, and then I would play and sing on the piano when no one was home.
Oh.
And then slowly people started noticing I could sing, and I just started singing. I got put in this big jazz band, and we were competing.
In high school?
Yeah, in high school. And then I became obsessed with jazz because it was just all about accuracy, scales, scatting, listening to people, and I was obsessed. It was so much fun.
Jazz is it's more new for me. I've always kind of listened to it, but not with intention, and I didn't go very deep with it.
Yeah.
And then in the last few years, and more specifically like the pandemic years, the last 2 years, I've gone really far with it.
Yeah.
And it has become one of my favorite genres. It's remarkable.
It's crazy. And also, being a singer, a lot of people are like, oh, jazz singers, ugh, they're like theater girls. But the thing I think when I was little is all these different women and some male jazz singers, they were all singing the same songs. Like there's kind of the real book of standards. But every version was so different, like Ella Fitzgerald to Nina Simone to Billie Holiday. They're all singing the same exact song, but I felt so different each time. So I really understood the authenticity behind your voice and how you really just have to make it your own and interpret it differently. And I had a bit of a lower voice when I hit puberty in high school, and my mom gave me a Sarah Vaughan record. And she has this like very low voice. And I just fell in love that you could be whoever you want to be. And you can sound however you sound and still be cool. And that's where I just was like, wow, I don't have to sound like anyone else. I just have to kind of curate who I am and what kind of voice I have. So, because now these days when you listen to the radio, a lot of people sound exactly the same. I really can't tell them apart.
Well, they do.
Yeah.
And they don't have the best like it's going to sound harsh.
No.
They don't have the most authentic voice. There's a lot of other things going on.
Yeah.
Like I heard you live last night. I know how you sound.
Yeah.
There's nothing hiding it. There was some reverb the engineer had to the PA, but other than that.
Yeah, very, very dry, clean.
Yeah, and like you're very transparent. You've clearly put in, 25 years of singing.
Yeah, well, I thought it was a requirement. But also,
Well, it should be. That's the problem.
But also different artists, for me, I'm now just starting to explore more in the production soundscape and things that are, more interesting to other artists, like creating these really cool tracks with all these sounds where the production is more important sometimes than the vocal. But for me, I was a vocalist. I am a vocalist. So to me, the voice is always one of the main ingredients, I'd say, that should shine.
Yeah. And so you're in high school. And when did you decide, like, I want to go to college for music, the new school?
My mom was like, you have to do something.
Yeah.
And she knew my grades were too shitty to get in anything else. So she was like, all right, let's try a music school. And I went to a very strict all-girls school where it was very academic because she knew I was going to do something in the arts. So she desperately wanted me to have like a decent education before I fly off and become a hippie art kid. So we applied to all these really intense music schools, and I got into most of them, which was great. We had to audition. It was so fun. And I picked New School because it was really small. They only accepted maybe under 20 vocalists around the world.
Whoa.
And it was great. There were singers from Asia. So it was just all these different kinds of people singing all the same songs. And again, that was like why I fell in love with it. To hear someone with a Taiwanese accent singing Georgia on My Mind was just mind-blowing. And just hearing how everyone else would interpret phrasing was great. But then we all were looking at each other like, we're in New York. Why are we in a classroom? But yeah, no, I was obsessed with like going to the best conservatory, and then maybe after the first semester, I was like, bye.
Is that when you left?
Yeah.
Just one semester?
Just one semester.
So, like,
it was the most important thing in my life to get in. And then when I got there, I was like, wait, I'm in New York. There's jazz clubs right there. I'm going to go sing.
So you're still 18.
Yeah.
And how long do you stay in New York for?
I stayed in New York for a few years after that. And just kind of, I'd come from a very strict high school. And suddenly I'm in New York with all these other art kids. I was at New School, which was kind of, fashion, music, all these amazing kids that were kind of nurtured to stay artistic. And my mom, she was a classical pianist, so she's artistic, but she didn't want me to like dye my hair green. I probably would have gone full art kid if I didn't go to the high school. But suddenly I was around like kids that smoked, were so cool and weird. And I was like, oh my God, these are my people. So it was me just coming out of my shell and embracing there are other kids like me and I can kind of let go. So I just lived it up in New York a little, listened to music, went to places I probably shouldn't have.
What did you do for like work while you were playing music?
I was moonlighting as a jingle singer. So if you've ever heard any old like Subway sandwich commercials and things like that, where you ever hear like the jazz voice, that was me.
Really? You did it for commercials?
Yeah, like for voiceover. So like there's a couple where this was a long time ago, but there's like one spot where the guy's eating a Subway sandwich and all the dogs come up and like the look of love comes on. Like that was me singing it. But it was great because it paid a lot, and I got to be in a little studio and work on mic technique a little bit, and I got to sing all these corny jazz jingles, and it was fun.
I always say to people, if you're going to go into the arts, try to always take jobs that are at least relative adjacent to it, and that is relative and adjacent to it. It might not be singing at Carnegie Hall or at an opera house, but you're singing or talking into a microphone, practicing yourself, even learning part of the industry, learning how to navigate and talk to other professionals.
100%, especially because these ad guys, they don't know our lingo. So they'd be like, I don't hear you smiling about the tomato sauce. And I quickly realized that means sound brighter.
Yeah.
Like just the terminology.
Mad Men.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we don't hear you, you be sad now. And I'm like, sad? What does that mean? Like, I'm just singing it. But it's like, change the timbre, a little darker, more somber. So it was a good experience, and it was fun. I got to sing about like pasta, diapers, all the weird shit.
How many commercials did you end up doing?
I'd probably say, I don't know, maybe around 20, and like a few were syndicated, so they paid pretty well. So I was this like 20-year-old buying pianos.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, what a interest. You probably were not expecting that, huh?
No, not at all.
And what happens after that?
Well, it's actually funny you said that, because I was booked for a jingle and I was waiting at the studio, and it happened to be Wyclef Jean's studio in Times Square. And long story short, the engineer blew me off, and Wyclef, I was a little too young for like the Fugees, but I knew who Lauryn Hill was. But this celebrity in this full tracksuit who looked like a star kept walking back and forth, and finally he was like, what are you doing in my studio? Who are you waiting for? And I told him, I'm here for a commercial, I'm supposed to be with blah blah blah. And he pulled me into a session with Shakira, and I'm like a dropout from or maybe I was still actually in my conservatory. I was in now a professional giant, one of the best studios, Platinum Sound was called. I don't know what it's called now, in Times Square. The whole board, Shakira was there, Wyclef was there, the full music industry experience 101. And I just sat there and was like, oh my God. And he said, what do you do? Because I'm shy, I'm just sitting there. He's like, I'm a singer. He said, play me something. And I was like, okay. So me and Wyclef go into the live room. There's a Steinway piano. I haven't played a piano because you have to sign up for the practice rooms at my conservatory, and they're always booked. And I don't know any songs besides jazz songs, so I played him like Angel Eyes or some old standard. And he was like, why aren't you doing this for like your career? And, in my family, it's always craft over show. And it was never... I think back about it now and I'm like, what was I going to do with being a musician, like a voice major? Like I never thought about making it. It was more, I just love what I do. I'm so in it. I guess I would have maybe become a vocal teacher or something like that. But it never occurred to me I could do it for like a career. And that was the first time he was like, you should do this for your career. Like, why don't you make an album? And so since then, he kind of took me under his wing and mentored me. And then flash forward, I was on a song with him, Akon, Lil Wayne, touring the world on Letterman with him. And I got to basically moonlight his entire career for 4 years.
Wow.
And that's where then kind of the introduction to the music industry happened. And that's where I'm like, oh, okay.
So you did this at 19, 20?
Yeah, probably around there. Yeah, probably between 19 and 22. That was
You
kind
played
of
all over the world.
play all over the world with him when he was one of the biggest stars in the world at that moment.
That is a surreal experience.
It was like pop star boot camp for someone who was just singing jazz standards. It was very eye-opening.
Was that overwhelming to go from Boston to New York? You're just singing and playing and doing some commercials, which is great.
Yeah.
But then that's a huge leap.
I mean, if my parents knew some shit I saw, they'd be like, what was your life at 19? But, it was incredible because I think because I was so green and because I wasn't desperate to be a star, that was never like my goal. It was fun, and I really got to learn, and I was such a craft person of understanding how it works. So in Letterman, you realize, oh, TV is very different than live shows, and being someone who is all about accuracy, and then moonlighting Wyclef, who's all about, he's so talented, but he's all about showmanship. He knows how to flip a crowd within 20 seconds. And just being around someone who's so comfortable on stage, engaging with his audience, climbing on the rafters, it was just really exciting to learn from him, and I really, everyone thinks it's dorky that oh, you got your start from Wyclef. I'm like, I actually am very grateful.
Why would that be dorky?
I don't know. Some people are like, oh, because it's so long ago, and it's just like sometimes
Well, how'd they get their start? Did they even have a start?
I know. Well, it's funny. I just think I'm very grateful because now I know a little bit about how this works. And I think, he really was my mentor, and we're still pretty close now. And he said, before his shows, he's got parties, tequila, all these people. And he always would look at me and be like, you don't have to do it this way. You're the artist. You do it however you want to do it. So he gave me a lot of great advice. And then
how did you not get into trouble at 19, 20, 21, underage?
Yeah, underage. There was a couple of shows I wasn't allowed in because, in Vegas, we did some shows and we had to convince them to let us in because I was so young.
How did you not get into trouble? Were you just, was
trouble
that natural?
Meaning what?
You know what I mean. the type that you go, my parents would be upset if they found.
Well, I think, I was with Lil Wayne, Akon, and Wyclef, some of the biggest, incredible artists of our time back then, and I still now, but they treated me like their little sister.
Okay, so
thank
they kept
God.
an eye on you and
yeah,
stuff. That's
for
good.
sure. I wasn't allowed in certain places, and I had curfew. But it was also really good because, for my upbringing, I was kind of a strict all-girls school to then New York, and then suddenly flying private jets to perform at the BET Honor Awards in front of Alicia Keys at 20. And I was just like, this is my life.
I've never been in a private jet, but I'm sure it's an experience, especially at that age.
Yeah.
And so having to be a slingshot, to be skyrocketed into this industry like that, you went from...
I was on the radio suddenly.
Yeah, everywhere. I mean, you went from singing at the new school
about diapers,
and then to commercials, which still get some attention, but you're not being seen.
No, yeah.
To now being all over the place, all over the world, big events, which is the top of the music industry.
Yeah.
How do you handle that emotionally, mentally?
I think what started to happen was I realized how hard it is to get to where I got so quickly because of Wyclef, and that I wasn't ready in the sense of I showcased for some record labels, and because suddenly all these labels were like, who's Niia? How, let's sign her. But I hadn't done any of the work of understanding what being an artist really means. I had come from singing standards, and I had written a little bit on my own. I have some songs I wrote when I was little, but nothing with the intent of what it means to be on a record label, to be a functioning artist in the music industry. Do you know what I mean? So we did a couple showcases, and I was super talented. I had all this raw talent, but nobody really knew where I should fit. And I had no idea what I wanted. I knew what I didn't want, but I didn't know what I wanted. And Wyclef, he said, look, you need to, and he would try to produce me songs, and I didn't like them, and he said, you're the kind of artist where no one's going to be able to believe you if it's not coming from you.
Yeah.
And he said, you're going to have to just take some time work with some people and see what you like and actually just start figuring it out. And that's what I did, you know, and I worked with some other indie musicians that were my friends, made some really bad music, and then started to understand, okay, I think I like these sounds. I think I want to write about this. And I would always ask Clef, and he would say, these are cool. And then I put some stuff up on SoundCloud, and then that's how the LA connection happened. So it was kind of this like huge spike with Wyclef, and then I kind of needed to go back down to being zero in a sense and start again, you know, because I'm actually really grateful for that, because if it had all worked out, I don't think I'd be here still. I think it would have crashed and burned.
That's a very healthy and honestly mature mindset, because most people want that fame, especially when they've been singing and practicing their whole life like you. And to have it at the prime age that a lot of people can get at their early 20s when they're at their youth physically.
For sure.
Which is a big selling point.
Yeah.
We can't hide and lie that youth and looks is a huge selling point in the film industry, the music industry. And so to have that, and then just to be wise enough to know, like, I think I need to like actually, for lack of better words, earn this. Go, do the work and grind in my 20s like everybody else, like my contemporaries, like my peers. And so it's very wise.
And I was a brat because, you know, Wyclef was producing songs for Shakira that were #1 hits. And I was like, I don't like this, you know, and like these other record labels were like, what's wrong? You know, and they wanted to develop me into this. And Norah Jones was happening, Amy Winehouse, but I didn't want to listen to anybody. I was too angsty, and I wasn't ready. You know, I wasn't emotionally ready, and I wasn't creatively there. So yeah, I felt like I needed to earn it. I did.
It's good, because being disingenuous is a very easy thing to spot.
Yeah.
And people will sniff it out, and kind of, you'll have fans, but you won't have like the diehard fans.
No, and then, you know, you hear these artists that they hate their first 3 records because someone forced them to make this music. And then that breaks my heart, because then you hear this one album and no one really likes it, but it's the one the artist loves the most. I'm like, I wish you had made what you wanted from the start, you know? So I'm grateful that I have no music I really don't like of mine.
That's great. It's like what you said earlier. You're more about the quality than the quantity. So how many full-length records do you have out?
I have 2 full lengths and 2 EPs, and now 1 ambient record.
An ambient, and then some singles and whatnot.
A couple singles,
So when did your solo career as who you are now start? Did it start after that? Yeah,
it started after that. I put up a few covers on SoundCloud, just not with any intention, just because, everyone's posting to SoundCloud. I should probably do that. And I think I put up My Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes, like an old jazz song, and then like a Jai Paul cover. And people from LA, a couple little labels reached out and flew me out to LA to meet some producers and just kind of say, hey, you should check it out here. There's some people. And that's when I met my first producer that I worked with, Robin Hannibal, who was one half of Rye, the band Rye. And I just really liked it. I started to realize, there's some people out here that I think understand what I'm trying to say or hear my voice, and I think could help me find the right production that doesn't overpower my voice, but kind of complements it.
Yeah.
You know, and so we did a couple sessions, and then I found a really cool manager who I'm no longer with, but she just started to be like, let's try some stuff. Let's put out an EP, see how it goes. And I just started releasing music, and that just happened. And then it just keeps working. The more you work, the further you go.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's a hard thing to explain to those coming up. You know, I have students in that world. I have a lot of bands that come through when I record them and do live sessions with them that are starting out younger. And there's a lot of excitement and joy, but they also have a lot of like fear of like, how do I get to where you are or beyond you or these people I look up to? I'm like, they started like you. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
Keep doing it. And people start taking you more seriously, and then you can start building more connections and relationships and passing the baton to other people and having other people lift you up while you bring up others. And you guys just keep doing it. You got to make it your life. You got to be obsessed, and you got to be driven.
But you also can't get discouraged. I mean, it's impossible. At moments you post, it's your whole life. You spend 2 years making a record, you post it, and your publicist goes, okay, so what's next?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just threw my guts on the floor.
Yeah.
Give me a day. But also people don't realize, when you hear the term new artist, those artists have been at it for 10 years.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a new artist.
No.
People have been doing this forever, and they're just getting the credit they deserve now, and that's always what I say to people, like, what should I do? I want to be further along. I want to be where you are. I'm like, I was where you were 4 years ago. You just have to keep doing it.
Keep doing it.
It's really the only thing. And if you really love it, that's all you'll want to do.
Yeah, it should come naturally.
Yeah,
The
not
drive should come
everything's going to
naturally.
be a win.
No.
You're going to make some bad
You're
music.
going to make so many mistakes.
But I think of it as a timeline. You have dots on your timeline, and you look back and you're like, wow, that song was way too long. What was I doing?
Even stuff behind the scenes, like
Yeah.
I should not have done this thing. I shouldn't have played that show.
Yeah.
All these little things that build up.
Totally.
You learn from them. That's
For
how you
sure.
know.
And there's no ceiling, which is also something I tell other artists that always ask me, because it's like, you always want more. Oh, I want to be this. I want to be that. Once you get there, you want more. And to me, I've realized I just have to set little goals and then big goals, and like one of my big goals is to play again on TV, but as a solo artist, and like that's a bigger goal. And then what me and my team we decide is like, how do we get there?
Yeah.
And if we get turned down, okay, what do we think we can try differently? Or cool, let's put it right here for now and let's focus on these things. So it doesn't always feel like, oh, I'm not this, I'm not getting this. It's important to like celebrate the wins and the small things too that you do, instead of always looking forward of what else do I have to do? What else could I have gotten? Why am I not there?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Celebrating the little wins, and little sounds demeaning and like belittling, but it just
little
means,
and big wins.
Yeah.
Right?
Like a big win could be like, a Grammy or playing
Right.
a late night show, or headlining a big festival. Sure. But isn't it also a win when you walk through a crowd at Shuba's and you don't know, maybe only know a few people, but the other 150, 200 people in the whole building are there to see you?
100%.
And you're not even from here?
100%.
And that's just one show. Like, that's a
know.
big win. And it seems small. It's one night. It's, an hour and a half, but it's a big win because it's like you can keep doing that
For
and
sure,
learn. And
for
now people
sure.
know your music. Now I have been listening to your music, and I listen to a lot of music, and I will show other people. And I forget the name of their song, but the song with Laura Lee. I have on
Not
my,
Up for Discussion.
Yes.
Yes.
I have that one. She's amazing.
I know. I love her.
How did that happen? You just
We actually met for lunch one day.
Oh, nice.
And because I wanted to work with Krungbin, and they produce, I forget the other guy's name. I'm so bad with names. But anyway, I wanted to meet with them to see if they wanted to produce some stuff for me. And Laura was the only one that showed up. And we ended up having like the best girls lunch. And we just became friends. And that was way before COVID. So they're always on tour. So she was like, we can maybe try to do something remote, but we're always on tour, so it might be hard. But we're both just fans of each other's work. And I was working on Not Up for Discussion, and I kept listening to it, and I was like, I love this song, but I feel like there's something missing. Like, I don't know what it is. And it didn't need a featured vocalist. But I was like, what if we asked Laura to just add some spice?
Yeah.
Just add her
she
thing.
could add spice.
Yeah, and so I hit her up, and she's like, you want me to be a featured artist? And I just think there's not enough featured instrumentalists out there.
Yeah.
And she's a female, and she's beautiful and cool, so I just went for it. And she really added, a part of me sometimes wants to release the demo without her and then release the one with her, because there's just an energy that happens that she just brings. But I love her. We're good friends.
Yeah, no, she's
the
made
best.
bass way cooler than it already
yeah,
was.
I
She's
know.
amazing.
And she's a great bass player.
She's an
That's
amazing
what's
bass
sick.
player.
Yeah.
They're such a great band. I'm a big
know.
fan of them.
I know. I saw them at the Greek recently. It was so fun.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw them here at the Aragon in March, Aragon Ballroom, and then I saw them in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, fun.
Where they're from, or at least Texas, but Leon Bridges came out to do
Cool.
Texas
Very
Sun
cool.
with them, which
Yeah.
was great.
I know.
It was so cool. But
I know. She's the best.
yeah,
But I love that song. It's one of my favorites.
it's a good one. That one I put on a playlist, and I was showing some friends.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
that's good. And so that record has a little bit more like pop sensibility to it. So was was that a natural transition? Did you make the conscious decision to go like add my jazz background and skills, fuse it with pop to make it? Was it natural, or was it a decision to go like I want to make it more obtainable, more digestible?
Well, I think it's a two-tier thing. I think one thing that always surprises me is I thought everybody listened to jazz, and my friends don't.
Most people don't.
Yeah. And I kind of was like, I wish I could make music my friends listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And two, moving to LA, I was on a major label for my first album, and I was working with all the big pop writers, and I kind of, judged them like, oh, you write for these big pop stars, you probably aren't a great musician, but I don't know. Secretly, I was subconsciously intimidated or something.
Yeah.
And I started working with some of them, and the majority of them, we just didn't mesh because it was too pop for me. And, coming from jazz, I like the blue notes, I like the interesting choices, not just such a generic 1-3-5 type of melody.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a few songwriters that blew my mind that write for Selena Gomez, but also write for me and write with me now, just because their ability to write melodies that are both interesting and catchy are mind-blowing. And I think that's where I started to realize writing pop music is really complicated.
Really?
Yeah.
When you say they write for you, they mean the music or the actual lyrics?
The melodies
Okay.
with me. So, and one of my friends, her name's Chloe, she writes for, Demi Lovato, some of the biggest pop stars. And she'll come to a session, and what we do is we like both freestyle. We'll just kind of like mumble over the song just to come up with some ideas. And she'll literally go, okay, I'm Niia now. And she'll pretend to be me. And she'll just kind of like come up with stuff. And I'm like, I can't beat that. I wish I could have made that melody. So, and she just has the ability to edit a bit more and create something that's easy to digest, but still cool, and something that I can put my name on and feel proud of. So I think where the pop sensibility has come in is where, I'm now respecting people that can make really good pop songs, because I can't write that well, or that clean, that simple, that concise, where it gets in your head so perfectly. And my goal is to sneak jazz and other elements of classical jazz, other genres, into something digestible in a way.
And you do that.
Thank
you do that
you.
well. I could definitely hear it. I can hear the pop sensibility. I can hear the jazz.
Yeah.
And it's mostly just the actual timbre and the way you deliver your singing. It's so jazz foundation.
I know. Sometimes I used to wish I sounded different, because it's not how anyone else sounds on the radio or anything.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, hey, this is how I sing. It is what it is.
I mean, I think that it's a good thing. You don't want to be where someone sings the song, but they have no idea who you are because you sound like the next person.
I agree.
They might be like, not only is the song catchy and this person has a lovely voice, but it's different enough to where maybe I want to Shazam it or look it up or type it in or figure it out.
For sure.
You know?
But yeah, no, I think it's fun to, and like we were saying earlier, I don't know if it was on mic or not, it's always fun to just try new things and evolve and try to fuse all these things together. And I've definitely used to stray away from pop, and now I'm not necessarily trying to be pop, but just using some of the things that I'm impressed by it in my own music.
It has a place.
Yeah.
I grew up on it. I have an older sister, so I really, Spice Girls, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, all of that. Way more than the average man would be exposed to. And I get it. It's fun. It can be very tasteful. Sometimes it can go too far and be a little like flat, robotic-like.
Yeah.
But we all know
too
that.
Too high-endy for me, compressed out of its mind.
Oh my God, that's the late 90s for you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But think about it this way, like Barbra Streisand and all those old, like Judy Garland, they were pop artists back in their day. So it's just a different generation of what pop has become. So it's so interesting that some of my favorite old songs, those were the pop stars back then. And I wish that was how it is now. So we'll bring it back.
Do you feel like it's taken on a new image now, where it's not just how you sound or the formula or the hook, but also your fashion, your presence, your look, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube?
Yeah.
It's weird, right?
It's a full, you have to be 5 different jobs. It's a 5.
I know. You don't get to just be like, I'm a singer. I mean, some can be when they make it so well off. They can pay everyone to do all these things.
Yeah.
But if you're in this gray area where you are getting by as a musician, but you still have to kind of be responsible for some of those things and interact with it, it's weird. It's like the world knows you exist, but you almost don't exist unless you're existing on the internet.
Oh, 100%. I know.
Well, how do you feel about that?
I feel weird about it. You know, as an introvert,
too,
I don't want to share my breakfast with anybody. I don't know why anyone would care that I'm having, eggs Benedict, you know? But I'm starting to understand, even like last night, some fans came up to me and I didn't realize how much they knew about me because they listen to the podcast, they listen to my interviews, they look at my Instagram, and I don't know, it's just interesting that they're connecting on such a deeper level. And I used to be very intimidated by the whole, post, you got to share, you got to comment, you got to caption. And now I'm just trying to control it in a way of, it's my Instagram. No one's telling me what to do. Like, you almost feel out of control at some point, like, oh, I have to do this, Like, you know what? This is my Instagram. I can do whatever I want here. I control it. No one's going to tell me what to do. If I don't like a comment, I can delete it.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we lose that awareness of like, we can control whatever we want. It's my voice. I could do it. And, for me, it's important to showcase that I'm a musician.
Yeah.
But one of the things I will say is because I'm so introverted and I was more mysterious, I'm realizing people actually do like to learn a little bit more about my real life and like things that are important to me. And I always assume and hope the music should just speak for itself. I hate when people are like, so what is this song about? And I'm like, just listen to it, It's right there. Yeah. That's why I made it. And now everyone wants to explicate everything and, oh, what are you wearing? I'm like, I'm wearing a dress. You see the dress. I tagged the label. It's all the information is right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm realizing I'm grateful to be in this position where people want to share or learn about me sharing, but it's pretty crazy. It's too much. I hope we go back to where it's a bit less intrusive.
I do too, but it's not.
I know. It's going to get worse.
And the more
we're going to have like webcams
get,
on our head now.
That too, the metaverse. But even just the more popular you get as an individual,
it's
the
scary.
more
It's very scary.
I can't imagine what it's like. I mean, doing the things I do between the shows, the podcast, teaching, recording bands, and live sessions, there's a lot of different avenues for people to reach out. And I'm a man, so it's not nearly as intense as it can be for someone like yourself, a woman. So I can't imagine what it's like, but it's equally flattering when people reach out as it can be equally like, am I responsible to respond to everything with like a big heart and be honest and actually give a well thought out response? That's super time consuming.
Oh, it is. Yes.
So do you find yourself I know people probably reach out to you every day.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself feeling bad or guilty you can't give a good response, but also you're like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm only one human.
It's not possible is what you have to remember. I think it's just sometimes fans forget that I don't have, a full day. And there are days where I really try to dedicate to responding to some people. And because I get some really personal messages and that means a lot to me, especially the ones that they say like my music has really helped them through dark times. And it's always surprising when I hear those because I can't believe people, one, still listen to my music. I also am still processing people have sex to my music. I think it's so crazy. But I get it, like it's just a weird feeling of how people listen to my music.
Yeah.
Like, me and my husband, and like someone said they named their baby Niia, and I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
So it's all exciting. It's really exciting, but it can be very stressful, but it's a choice to let it bother you or not. And I think for me, and kind of what you said, as a woman, there's a lot of opportunities with fashion and all these brands and tagging, and Instagram is now like an online shop. It's a whole thing. And, back in the day, like 60s and the 80s, fashion and music used to be hand in hand no matter what. But now it just feels very forced a little bit. And to me, tagging brands and promoting other things, I'm only going to do it if I care about the products or if I use them. Why would I pretend that I wear this if I don't? I think being genuine is the most important thing. Because also people will buy things. You know, I don't believe in people just taking money to promote a face product that doesn't work. I don't know.
Yeah.
And also, I'm a musician, so I don't know why I have to do that anyway. But I also am a skin freak. So it's like the things that I care about, I will...
Elaborate, skin freak. What do you mean by that?
Oh, I'm obsessed with skincare. Like,
I mean, I could tell because your skin looks very nice.
Thank you.
But I would like to hear... Because I'm trying to be better at it.
Oh, I got
A lot
you.
of men... Please.
Yeah.
A lot of men are not good at it.
Well, it's very targeted towards women. I feel like you guys are excluded in all these Instagram
I know.
ads.
What the heck?
Well, there's a couple of great brands that I'll tell you later. They're so good. But yeah, I love skincare. I love animals. I do love clothes. But now I'm really becoming a gear nerd. I'm obsessed with.
I can help with that.
Yeah, I know. I need a list of things.
Gear like mics, preamps,
Like
amplifiers. Junos. I have a Juno at my house.
Yeah, I have a Prophet, but apparently I have the wrong Prophet. So I'm just starting to learn. And I got a muter for my piano I'm obsessed with.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a whole world out there on the Instagram.
Instagram's funny. It is like where musicians thrive and live. Like all artists. Anybody who's doing something creative, Instagram's like the place. Facebook is weird. Facebook is where you go to just, okay, I guess my family can find out what I'm doing.
I know. And TikTok is a whole nother beast.
That is too. So, you do TikTok?
I have a TikTok, but I haven't started it yet because I don't know what I want to do on it. I think I might just be crazy on it.
Oh, okay.
Because like I don't want to do covers.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'd rather the other people do that.
TikTok is another really big one right now. I know of past bands that I've worked with that have blown up just from a video going viral on it.
I know.
The simplest thing, millions of tags. I'm like,
I know.
who'd have thought?
I know.
It's the viral video thing that makes people blow up is a little strange for me because it is really random.
It is random, and that's why, you know, you can't only try to make music in hopes to go viral or something's going to hit. In my opinion, if you stay in music long enough, something's going to work.
Yeah.
Something's going to give.
Stay in the pocket and focus, and your skill will shine.
And maybe something will go viral on TikTok, great.
Yeah.
But if not, something else is going to happen too.
It's got to be so hard as like a younger artist coming up right now, like an 18-year-old.
Oh, I don't know how they do it.
I don't either.
I mean, or maybe they're doing it better than us because
they have a lot to learn
they're
from.
in this generation, though, where they know how to TikTok, you know, do all the things all at once.
They're probably laughing at us.
I know.
When they hear this, they're like, these
I know.
dinosaurs. Talking about skincare and Formula One.
Hey, these are cool, young kids. Get with it. Formula One and skincare.
Formula One is an art craft.
Yes.
An engineering art craft, and just the design alone. And to talk about fashion,
I know.
Lewis Hamilton is ridiculous with this. I mean, ridiculous in a good way with his fashion.
I know.
Like, where is he getting these things?
I know. They're gifting it to him so he can post it and
I'm
tag it on
sure-
his Instagram.
I'm sure everything he wears is just given to him. Every morning he wakes up, there's a new thing wear. Okay.
I know. Lucky.
So I'm trying to think of if we can go back to the linear timeline because we've been going over, which is good. That's why I like these things. There's no rules. You're in your late 20s. You're starting to do a lot more music. You're in LA. So LA is like the mecca of the music industry in America, in the world, maybe. Chicago is up there. New York is probably right behind LA.
Yeah, New York, Nashville, Miami, even maybe a little. Yeah.
I guess it depends on the genres you're trying to go into. If you're going into like underground indie scene, Chicago's amazing for that. If you're going to the pop world,
probably LA.
So you're in LA now. Is it overwhelming? Does it feel oversaturated? Because that is where everyone goes. It's when I hear about it, I hear LA.
I think what was the hardest was it was beautiful outside. I couldn't write.
How do you get motivated when you're not sad?
Exactly. I was, glamorizing being this masochist in New York City. Like, I was hungover in the dark in this tiny apartment with my shitty upright piano. And now suddenly I'm in LA with this beautiful light blonde piano where there's a pomegranate tree outside.
Oh my God.
The sun is shining. I'm like, what?
What's upsetting?
I couldn't write. It took me maybe 2 months to figure out just how to get my process down.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly I was like, oh my God, I feel amazing. I have my kale smoothie. The sun is shining. I feel healthy and happy. I can write, meaning the songs were better because I was in a better state of mind. Mm-hmm. So then I just became obsessed with writing during the day when I felt good and not hungover, or, you know, when it's raining outside. So it took me a minute to make that switch, but the songwriting became stronger because I was in a healthier state of mind and just physically and everything. But yeah, that was tough.
And were you working with, you're probably working with producers, were you working with a band at all? Were you just doing stuff on your own?
No, I was working more with like producers and some songwriters just to try it out, and then we would bring in some musicians. LA has some great musicians.
Yeah.
But predominantly with producers that could basically play everything. And since I play piano, a lot of the times I would bring my little piano demo to them and we'd kind of produce it out and stuff like that.
Did you double, triple down like the acting, modeling, music? I hear a lot of people do that.
A little bit. I think it's hard to multitask. And, you know, what I've learned, especially being in LA, like commit to one and then the other couple will follow. So, and I just loved music the most. And I did a little acting, but then you realize you really have to commit to it. You got to, and I'm a, you know, I want to learn the craft, you know, and I was up for a couple roles for things because a lot of these movies now, they want singers.
Yeah.
But it felt weird taking it away from people that work their whole lives being actors that can also sing. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to be a musician.
Wow.
Yeah. And eventually I'll do it.
That's very like humbling to be like, you know what? I could do it, but I'd rather give it to people who've been working harder than me.
Yeah. I mean, just because I can sing and I have a tiny bit of indie buzz doesn't mean I should get the role. You know, and modeling, you know, was always here or there, and that's just because I'm tall, and fashion stuff was always interesting to me. But, and now fashion and music go hand in hand, so it's just kind of part of it. I'm very grateful for that.
Every band, even garage rock, indie rock, fashion and music is like, it's so apparent now.
Yeah.
It's
because there's a lot of money in it.
Yeah. And it's like, because we're being seen so much, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, and you're on TikTok every day. Now you want to look like unique and presentable and colorful and alive and vibrant.
Yes, totally.
So you didn't really go to the modeling route and the film route. You stayed with music. You said you didn't really tour a lot. You've only done a couple?
No, I just did a couple because I became like more a studio person. I was trying to make music because I had no music. You know, I had a couple demos with the Wyclef era, but you know, I started again and working with some of these producers in LA. They were on a very different level. So than my friends in New York. And I started to just really focus on making some music. And I released an EP. Then I got signed to a major label and worked on my first album.
Which label?
Atlantic. I was on Atlantic for my first.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it was a great experience. It was, I felt like if I didn't sign, I would have always wondered what would have happened if I did. But yeah, and now my second one, I was independent. And then the ambient one is on like an indie label. So it's fun to try some things. I think it's important to take a risk, take a chance, but also not be afraid if things don't feel right either. Because it has to line up. The partnership has to make sense on both ends.
Yeah, you don't want to sign your soul away to a contract and they screw you financially. Yeah,
it's just a lot. There's a lot of options. Also, you have a bunch of other artists on the label too. You have to... you know, if like Bruno Mars decides to fart, every other album has to wait to Bruno Mars to fart, you know, or something like that.
It's a funny example.
No, but
is
you know,
is he on Atlantic?
He's on Atlantic,
okay.
Yeah.
I was like, there's
because he's probably, I would say, one of their biggest artists. Yeah, so
yeah,
love Bruno Mars though. So
yeah, no, he's amazing.
Silk
the Anderson .Paak Bruno Mars thing
the Silk
was
Sonic is so fun to me.
So cool.
Yeah.
So did you find yourself? So you start doing music more like on your own in the late 20s. Your first record, you're in your late 20s, right? Which is not as common. Most people start doing that earlier. Did you?
I think maybe mid. I don't know. I have no sense of time anymore.
What
Somewhere
year
in
was
my
your
20s.
First record?
I don't even know.
You don't even know?
I don't even know. I should know.
In the last 5 years?
Six or seven.
6 or 7. Okay, so late 20s. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself? Did it ever feel like
probably around
I'm running
like
out of
20,
time?
Yeah. Running out of time?
Yeah, like it's too late. It's not too late. Or maybe because you had that experience touring the world, you didn't feel like it was too late.
I mean, the first questions you get asked, usually as a female, I would say, are how many followers do you have, and then how old are you?
Oh.
So there's always this kind of ageist bubble that happens. But for me, I try really hard not to let it get to me. Also, because I think your work should speak for itself.
Yeah.
And these days there are older artists crushing, especially female artists. And I think the reason is because we take our time, and now we know what we want, and we have more confidence a bit now, and we're killing it, you know? So I think it's less important these days. But back then, I think maybe I wasn't even aware of how ageist things are. I think I was just like, whoa, I'm making an album on a major label. How exciting. And didn't realize people at 15 are usually making their first album. So I was just excited, and it was fine. Luckily, I still looked pretty good. So
The skincare.
yes,
And the kale.
It's all that kale.
Do you, so you when you tour like today, to follow a routine, because you're up late, you're playing this, you're traveling, with diet, exercise, regimens, even like skincare, do you find that challenge? You find it to be the most important thing? You do that first? You take it seriously?
I think vocal health is the most important thing. I mean, even when I would do shows when I was younger, I think that's my jazz concert, like competition days, because it was always about winning the competitions. So I take things very seriously.
Yeah.
So I have like my slippery elm. I have all these like witch potions that I take on tour with
What's
me.
a slippery elm?
Slippery elm is this herb, and it's basically like a syrup, like a maple syrup, but it's from elm trees. And basically what it does is it lubricates your vocal cords and all your intestines also, so people can use it if you have like tummy problems. But whenever we sing and we like like clear our throats, our vocal cords slap together, and it's really bad for our vocal cords. So what slippery elm does is it lubricates them, so it kind of creates this barrier. So when I'm singing and belting and screaming or talking a lot, it basically just kind of protects them and helps everything just stay lubricated, because you can get really dehydrated on tour. So I have like my slippery elm, I have all my throat washes just to clear it out, but also sometimes I usually don't talk very much. I don't really drink on tour. And it really makes a difference.
Yes. Drinking makes it...
dehydrates your vocal cords. It's the worst
thing
for you.
It messes everything up.
I know. And I'm Italian, so I love cheese and wine more than anything. So it's devastating when I can't order like a 4-cheese mac and cheese. But I will one day after tour. Yeah. But it's still fun. But also at the same time, you know, I want to put on a great show. So it's my job to present my voice the best way I can.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not as glamorous as people would think. It's like, I have to take care of myself on this. In fact, I have to try extra hard. Yeah. Because I'm not sleeping right. I'm not in the same place every night. Yeah. I'm traveling a lot, jet lag. Yeah. I actually have to try a lot harder to maintain the immune system.
For 100%.
And it's not some crazy party. I'm sure at a certain level it can be.
And you shouldn't be too rigid. I do believe, like, I think it's important. I mean, I'm not a full-on rock star breaking shit and going wild, but it's fun to do it sometimes. It's just do it when you feel like you want to do it. Because, like, even last night, I wanted to, but I also knew I have more time to do it in Toronto, where I'm going next. So like there'll be one rager night. Yeah. You know, but then I know I'll have all my things lined up in the morning, the supplements. Yeah. Just be prepared.
Yeah, be prepared.
Be prepared.
When you know you're gonna have like a rager night, like drink or smoke a lot, do you like prepare, like, okay, I got my coconut water, I got my tea.
Yeah, I steam. There's a steam is really important too.
Steam.
Yeah, so I go into the bathroom, and everyone hates me right now in the Airbnb because I steam up the bathroom where you can barely see, because it's a humidifier basically. Yeah. And steam opens your...
Why do they hate you? Because you used up all the hot water?
They go in, that, and also they go in there, it's like a steam room. You know, everything's sticky.
Niia, where's all the hot water?
I know.
Like, I get first shower, I call it.
But it's fun. It's, you know, and now this whole wellness movement that's happened, I think is really important and amazing. It's just, I think sometimes people don't realize how to personalize it. Everyone's like, oh, you know, treat yourself, self-care, you know, but at first when this happened, I was like, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean take care of myself? Like, I'll just put on a face mask and listen to Lizzo, you know, and I'm supposed to feel better, you know, but you really have to try some things and figure out what works for you. Mm-hmm. So steam and witch stuff helps me.
Are these things that other people have told you about, or you figured out over your life?
I've tried some stuff. You know, like I hate throat coat. Everybody talks about the throat coat tea, which basically numbs your throat. Like, that's not for me. Mm-hmm. But there are some things that really help your voice, like slippery elm, lemon if you are congested, but lemon also strips your voice. So if you're going to be singing a long set, you do not want lemon because that'll make it go drier faster because it's acidic. You don't want anything acidic. Flat soda is the best.
Flat soda.
Flat Coca-Cola.
Really?
Yes. So like on stage, sometimes I'll have a flat can of Coke.
Why that?
Because it's syrup, so it basically kind of coats, but you can still feel your throat. Like a throat coat tea, you can't really feel it.
Isn't that a healthier version than sugar?
I mean, I'm sure like Gatorade, anything kind of sugary, but soda for some reason, there's just probably those chemicals in syrup. But it's nice because it kind of is like a...
Soda was the last thing I thought someone like you
would
ever mention.
Some of these tricks, I actually got that one from, do you know who Jennifer Holiday is?
I don't
The
think
original
so.
Dream Girls. You remember that song? And I am telling you. So she was the original one who sang that musical. And then Jennifer Hudson, you know her, the American Idol. She redid it in the movie with Beyonce. But Jennifer Holiday was basically one of the best singers ever, I think. More even so than Whitney Houston, I want to say.
You got really quiet when you said that.
And I saw her perform in a small church in Provincetown with my mother. And I didn't know who she was. My mom was like, oh my God, Jennifer Holiday, she's an icon. And she came on stage. She was maybe like, I think she's still alive, I hope. Maybe in her 70s. She looked about 200. She's very tiny, this beautiful black woman. She had this little rinkety-dink karaoke machine. And she sang all these hits, but she had 4 cans of Coke just like lined up on a stool. And I was like, why is she drinking Coke? And she goes, flat Coca-Cola is the trick. And ever since then, I've been doing it, and it works.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never would have thought.
I know.
So how often do you do that?
Only when I need it. Sometimes I'll have tea, and now that I do my slippery elm and some like salt gargling, that's it. And room temperature water, never cold.
Room temperature water.
Yeah. Unless, like right now, my voice sounds a little lower because I'm tired and because I sang all night. So I would be drinking cold water tonight if I had a show. So it'll tighten everything up.
Got it. And so no show tonight. You have a show tomorrow night?
I have a show on Sunday.
Oh, so a couple of days off.
Yeah.
That's great.
I know.
In Toronto.
Toronto, yes.
And so that's where you're going to have fun?
Yeah,
Is
I'm
that
gonna
why?
do a little raging. No. And raging for me is like, whoa, mac and cheese.
I mean, me too. It's like I'm going to have some pizza Saturday for the first time.
Yeah, maybe some mezcal. I love a good tequila.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your drink of choice is tequila?
Yeah. I love wine, but it's so acidic lately.
Wine. I know.
And I get like very stuffy.
The heartburn
is not good for your voice.
No, the next morning after I have like a bottle of wine or two and too much cheese and salami and olives and all of it. It's amazing in the moment. That night is a fun night.
Yeah.
And the next day you're like, this is why I do this once a month.
I know. But it's always good to indulge sometimes, I say.
You have to live. Yeah. Why else are we doing this for? Like you're working so hard and traveling so hard so you can live.
I know.
Right?
I know. I had a shot last night.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, someone buy it for you or something?
Yeah, I had a shot of Don Julio.
Oh, classic.
I know.
I prefer like the bourbon scotch.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Smooth.
It's smooth, but I've noticed a lot of people aren't big fans of drinking it like neat. They always want it with like a Coke or ice. Or
No, you got it neat. Neat is classy.
Thank you.
Yes.
And beer? No beer?
I'm from Boston, so
You
people
have
are
to.
always surprised that I can drink a beer. Yeah.
No accent. You completely lost it, huh?
Thank God. Yeah, no. I never had it.
You never had it?
No, I think because my mom sent us to like an all-girl pretentious private school.
Oh, okay.
But I had a lot of boyfriends that had them.
Niia. I can't do it.
Niia. Park the car. Right? Oh, God. Get yourself a quarter.
You could probably do it well.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck voice.
The Ben Affleck
Yeah.
voice. So, touring, have you gone, aside from the earlier tour you did in your early 20s, have you gone to other countries yet? Europe?
I have done a show in London, and I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, you have bad memory.
I think just a couple, not many. Maybe London. I think that might be it.
Have you always had a bad sense of time and memory?
Horrible. I should
Really?
be doing more of those Suzuko. What are those puzzles?
Sudoku? Suzuko? That sounds like something
I'm
else
a visual learner, so anything visual I can remember. Like if you played me one song, I could remember all the lyrics. Just because I can associate them with melody, which is oratory. But like if you just talk to me, I won't remember anything. But also maybe I'm just getting older. I don't know what it is. But I also think I've just never had a good memory.
And you've always just...
But melody I can remember and visuals. Like I'll remember what you're wearing for 30 years.
This mug.
Yes, I'll remember it. But dates, places, time. Someone asked me to sign a vinyl last night and they were like, can you date it? And I was like,
what's today's date?
2012? What?
Yeah, like
2012?
I'm almost the opposite. I dates and times and numbers.
You know, you're a professor.
I have to be.
You gotta be on that level.
It's been a problem. It's not really a problem. It's been the way I've functioned my whole life. It happened today.
I'm jealous. That sounds so cool.
It's bittersweet.
Okay.
I'll tell you where it's sweet first and where it's absolutely bitter. Where it's sweet is you don't need Facebook or Instagram to remind you to text your friend it's their birthday.
That's insane.
You just go, oh, it's today. It's Matt. It's my friend Matt's birthday. I won't say his last name, and I text him. Or it was today.
You'll just remember.
I remember everyone's birthdays. Like if you don't have to, but if you told me your birthday,
July 11th.
I'll never forget that.
Wow.
July 11th.
Yeah, 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven. Oh,
how do you remember? You just like store it?
It's a form of synesthesia.
Okay.
Where how I map out numbers and shapes is mixing it with colors and almost like design. So like July is orange. 11 is yellow.
Okay.
7 is also kind of orange.
Okay.
So like...
Are you designating these colors
right
now?
That's just how I see it.
Okay.
That's how it is perceived in my mind.
Okay.
So between having that and also the way I view time, I don't want to sound like Matthew McConaughey.
No, I'm obsessed.
But it is a flat circle. But it has a break in it. It's almost like a horseshoe.
Okay.
And where that break is this weird gap, what I like to call the in-between.
Okay.
I sound crazy right
now. No, you don't. I'm like obsessed. Continue.
The in-between where everything happens and matters that we can't quantify. And that's where I have this like horseshoe in my head. So the colors go around this horseshoe. The months do. The dates do. And I can see everyone and where they are on that horseshoe. And it just stays in my mind. I could just like literally like a robot, like flicker my eyes and just like find it.
But how do you have enough storage?
I don't know. God upgraded me many terabytes
that's
a
what
long
I feel
time
like
ago.
I need to take out one of these floppy disks.
You have floppy disks.
I have floppy disks.
I have solid state.
That's what I mean. I need terabytes.
Yeah,
I have like
you need
the
way
floppy.
more terabytes. You have like kilobytes right now.
I think that's what it is. I need more storage.
It's also something that I practice. Like
Okay.
I will not use a calculator. I force myself to figure it out in my head. Like those mathematical equations that I was doing when I was minusing the hertz in half, but even getting the halves correct. That's just like doing it on the fly because one of my biggest apps I use is not Instagram or Google Maps. It is a calculator. I'm always calculating stuff. Distances. When I drive, I always calculate how to figure out the gas versus range versus my trip set versus the RPM. And it's an obsession.
Damn.
So
well, that's
sweet when you're trying to figure out things and be good at orchestrating and organizing things, which I organize things for a living. So it's really great there. Here's where it's catastrophic and terrible.
Okay.
Love.
What do you mean?
You remember every date.
How is that bad, love?
Because if you're broken up, you remember everything. Everything. First time I listened to Nia's vinyl with this woman, I'm making up stuff. It's May 4th and forever.
Can't you delete?
No, there's no deleting. It's bad.
But then maybe you should write a novel. Like, do you journal any of this all out?
No, I don't need it. I don't even need a journal. I have everything. I could recall so much.
You're just orbiting on such a higher level.
It hurt. It really does hurt when it comes to like heartbreak.
Well, why don't you write some songs about it?
I have. I do all the time. That's why I'm a musician.
I mean,
and a lot of poems, a lot of poetry.
Then it's definitely a win-win, my friend. And you'll just have to cry it out.
I do a lot of that too.
Me too.
Crying is a very useful tool that
I agree.
Well, women, it's been socially acceptable.
That's
forever. True. Men, it's like, what's wrong with this person? And it's not fair. It's not cool. It's like,
I know.
Why can't I put on a record and cry?
I know. Apparently, there was a woman last night who was going through a divorce, and she didn't realize all my songs were about breakup, so she had to leave.
Yeah, they are. I was actually going
I
to say
know.
that. Well, we were never really friends.
Yeah.
That one kind of stung.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that one?
Well, you know when you date someone,
Yeah.
but you weren't friends before. You just
Yeah.
started dating this person
Yeah.
that became your significant other, and then you break up. I don't want to be we were never friends, so
Right.
why would we try to be friends now?
And why is that the first place people go to when they break up? They go, "Do you want to?" Do you think it's just like trying to figure out something to say? They feel bad.
I mean,
and you know who normally says it?
Who?
The person who broke up with the
Oh,
person.
for sure.
It's not the person who's been broken up with.
For sure. I've never said it, but I mean, most of my exes probably would like to light me on fire, but
Elaborate. What do you mean?
I don't have great breakup stories. They're pretty dramatic and extreme.
On your end?
Yeah.
Why?
I've been a bad girlfriend most of the. Well, I'm just, I'm a romantic.
This is the most I've caught you not being able to explain something.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out how to say it without getting myself in trouble. I haven't been the best girlfriend all the time. I start out. It also depends. Don't promise me the moon, and then I didn't ask for the moon. Don't promise me all this shit, and then abort the mission halfway. Like I don't have that many expectations. People fall in love very quickly. They want to give me the stars, and I'm like, I didn't ask for it. And then if you can't keep it up, I'm probably gonna go find someone else. But
Okay.
I've grown up. I've grown up a lot. I'm in a healthy. Also, you realize,
You haven't been able to finish a sentence.
Yeah, I know.
I'm in a healthy. Well, you realize.
No, I mean, Ace Hotel is about an affair. I've had a couple affairs. I'm definitely. I don't know. I'm definitely a little naughty. I've tried some stuff.
The affair thing is very interesting to me because
Yeah.
it is so common, yet
Yeah.
we don't talk about it.
Of course.
People say no, I would never do that. It's like almost everybody I know kind of, if
Yeah.
it wasn't a physical thing, maybe emotional
Oh,
cheating,
for sure.
but something.
Yeah.
What? Why?
I think now, especially more than ever, it's easier just to get attention from any strangers. You can get attention anywhere. And
Yeah.
it's almost impossible because we want it all the time. Even when our phones buzz, we get the endorphin kick.
Sure.
So if we're with one person and they're not literally doing it 24/7 and you're not the most secure, perfectly through therapy human, you're going to probably seek it out at some point. Or when someone gives it to you, you'll potentially connect with them. I don't know. Or we're all just freaks. I can't.
I think it's the latter.
Yeah, right?
It's the freak thing.
I mean, for sure. But
it
I
almost
definitely
takes
learned.
discipline not to.
Well, that's also something I've learned. I think it's also, like when I glamorized being a masochist in New York, I think I glamorized falling in love with these dark characters and all these people with problems. And we all have our problems.
Yeah.
So I think I'm realizing as I get older, I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah.
I want someone who's stable, who reads the paper, who has no idea who Usher is, just someone who's not in the mix, just someone off the grid.
That's a great point. So
I learned I was picking the wrong people for me. I was attracted to drama, and then I created even more drama.
Yes.
I loved it. I thrived on it.
So you almost being so in the scene, the music, and you almost want someone who's not.
Now I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're all crazy in music, in a good way. I know crazy is a touchy term, but we're emotional. We're all very, and everybody has trauma, not just musicians. Normal people do too, not in the industry. But I think I just really thrived on needing conflict.
Yeah.
I really wanted conflict. I would create the conflict. Hurt You First is a song about how I'm going to do the hurting first because I don't want to deal with you doing it to me. And also, I just
Really?
would rather blow it up first.
Why do that?
It's a control thing. I have too much pride to wait around for you to screw me over. So I'm going to do it first.
Yeah. That's so.
Nobody's also about an affair.
I
guess I'm just this slut. I don't know. I'm kidding.
Oh my God.
No, it's.
I wouldn't say that.
No, but you know what I mean.
How many?
I'm a passionate person. How many? Oh, maybe 3.
3?
3.
Okay.
Not that mad. 3. My lucky number.
Is that what that's from?
Kind of. And 0 are for the
Your
relationships.
tattoos are in really. 0 relationships have mattered.
Well,
3.
No. Well, each 0 is for a failed relationship, a big one that I've created. And it's also my favorite word. But it's to go back to 0 to reset.
Okay.
I like to kind of create things that remind me of things that matter in my life, like a timeline, things that I like to, branding is a strong word, but kind of brand myself with things that remind me and help me keep going or reset.
Okay.
Totems, kind of.
So
that took a strange turn.
No,
I love it.
I mean, your music career really does stem from relationships and some turmoil in some way, either your own or theirs. But the blowing it up thing, that fascinates me because I've seen that a lot. I've never been that type of person. It doesn't click in my head.
Well, that's because you're smart, yeah.
Well, it's like when I like someone, care about someone, love someone, that's it. Like, I'm choosing to do that because that's all I want. I don't need anybody else. Everyone else goes into like this
that's amazing
separate bracket of who they are. I wish more people were like that. I don't even have a problem with it. It's so natural to me.
Well, it's if you don't have it naturally like you do, it's a skill set, and I think also we're all egomaniacs these days and desperately want attention, and especially girls, we love to be flattered, and there's guys everywhere giving us this. But I think it's like an ego lesson. You learn very quickly, and then when I did hurt someone, I realized, wow, I really hurt this person. And then you realize I want to make these standards for myself, and that's where I've shifted of what's important to me as being a good person. What are my moral lines? And cheating isn't one of them anymore. I don't want to do that, even just for me. I don't want to be that person. It's not even about hurting other people anymore. It's just like a standard for myself.
Yeah.
I want to be.
Well, in a way, it still hurts yourself.
Yeah. It's not cute.
No.
It's not cute.
I'm sure you don't.
It was fun, but I get some free Ace hotels now, but
Free, wait, what?
I had an affair at the Ace Hotel, so I get free rooms at the Ace Hotel sometimes now because I have a song about the Ace Hotel.
Oh my God.
But
that
hey,
seems to
life.
be the place they mostly happen is hotels.
Of course.
Yeah. No, I've never had that. Never had one. So
don't. They're fun, but just watch the movies.
I will listen to your songs. I guess I can live vicariously through you.
Well, that's what's crazy. They're literally like word for word. Those are all. Nothing is fake in my lyrics.
No, that's good.
And sometimes I'm like, shit, this kid's gonna hate me. But no.
That was too honest. But
I gotta be honest.
Back, being genuine is where you can grow as a musician, and people love it. No matter what the content is, being genuine is being genuine. We appreciate it. It's what has made podcasting so popular.
Yeah, that's
like the fact we're having these conversations.
Yeah.
If you went on Johnny Carson or David Letterman to speak to him 10, 20 years ago, you would never say, well, I had these affairs.
Oh, no, it would be media trained. It would be all fluff.
No, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, it would never
I would
be
also
that.
just keep promoting something, I feel like, just getting back to promoting.
Yeah, it would never be the
Real.
in-depth conversation. In a few hours, I can come to know someone.
Yeah.
And in a weird way, because we're so close to each other, we're looking each other's eyes, saying these important things that are very honest and in-depth.
Don't judge me.
No, I'm not judging you. I have too many friends that I've talked to too many people, and I realize the more I do this, why I like it. It's very therapeutic. It helps me to stop being so judgmental. You realize how human we all are.
Yeah, of course.
How we have basic needs and wants. And who am I? Like, I'm not perfect, and there's no measurement of what's worse. Like, cheating or lying or conniving or stealing, what's worse than the next? I don't know.
I know.
I certainly learned from other people's conversations and mistakes. Like, okay, I already didn't want to do that, and I definitely won't do it now.
Yeah.
But it's funny the way you said it, even the smile you got, you almost like glamorized it.
Well, back then I did, and then I would write about it because I was going through it, and subconsciously I think I was trying to decide if it was worth it, and it never is. It never is. And I think, now I'm actually in like a really healthy, happy relationship, and I'm having a horrible time writing because I have nothing to complain about.
Why is that? Why is it when
I
things
don't
are
know.
good?
It's so awful.
And it's not just the writing now. It's everything. It's everything. It's like, well, things are good, and this person's nice to me, so therefore I must sabotage it.
I know, or just like I quit. What am I write about a tree? So it's now but now it's actually a really interesting challenge of shifting my lyrics to try to make something new that's from a different perspective of myself and writing in a positive way, or not necessarily like happy, but just about how I'm feeling now, or even try to write about a tree, maybe write more poetically or abstract.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going to try, but it's really hard. You
don't do much abstract writing.
I used to, but I think with where music is now, it became so confessional and so personal. Just like even Drake, everything's so confessional, and he kind of made everything about like talking. It's almost very conversational almost now. So when I listen to like old Joni Mitchell lyrics and like Crosby, Still and Nash, they're talking about hummingbirds and like very abstract metaphors, and no one really writes that way that often anymore. And I'm going to try, just because I feel, I don't know how many more sad songs I have in me. Also, I'm not having any more affairs or anything juicy. So I got to write about like picking out blinds. I don't know.
Yeah. But you can find meaning in other ways. Have you ever thought about writing the juicy stuff from someone else's perspective?
Well, that's what I've never tried that. So I'm going to try to also take me out of it and maybe write about someone else. But I have all these exciting ideas, but it's harder than I thought to actually shift directions and write a poem about a peanut even, just as an example.
Poem about a peanut.
Yeah, an exercise.
It is hard. The most that I ever wrote songs is when I was at my saddest, when I didn't sleep. I was very depressed between like 19 and 24.
Why is that?
And now I don't have that, so I only can write like abstract poems about the simplest thing. Like right now I could write one about this mirror, you, the mic, and the lighting.
I love that.
And it would be really hard for somebody to know what I actually wrote about.
I love that. See, that's what I want to try. I got to get there. Give me some exercises.
Do you write poetry?
I do. I love writing poetry. Usually that's how some of my lyrics start, just kind of like a poem, and then I can just start freestyling on the words a little bit and then fill them in. But
so my exercise that I do to get a poem going and then it just runs from there is I just pick one thing that I look at that catches my eye, and I think of any other word to describe everything about it that isn't the word. So like right now I'm looking at this mirror, gold frame, it's a rectangle, blinds behind me.
Ooh.
But instead of saying like that's a gold frame with a mirror, I might say like the Earth's brain.
The Earth's brain?
Well, yeah, gold,
Oh, wow. I mean, that's poetic. That's what you just throw out right now as your rough workshop word.
I've been doing this since I was 14.
Oh my God, that was very impressive. The Earth's, wow, okay.
The Earth's brain shaves an isosceles triangle.
Mind blown.
Covers the specks of aluminum across sand. Mirror.
Wow.
The depth unknown brings a glow from a southern place where olives and wine flow. You're Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see, you can like. I'm not done yet, but I'll stop
now. No, keep going. You have more? Do you have more?
I mean, I could just keep going because you just,
God.
But it's practice.
I know.
And it's very natural, especially when things feel right. When like I'm feeling good right now, it's a fun conversation, so it can come out. When I really like someone, when I'm in love, it flows out all the time. I mean, I have to stop myself from writing a poem to a woman every day.
Oh, I love that.
Again,
I'm gonna try. This is inspiring. Thank you, because I've been really having a hard time writing again. But I think that was a really good example. I'm gonna try to do that. Cool. But mine will not be that good.
Thanks.
It'll be like games. I don't know.
Period.
Yeah.
Games.
Just games.
It comes with experience. I do it a lot. I practice it a lot. When I go to a new place, I bust out my phone, my notes, and I just start doing it. Do it. And you just get better at it. Yeah. And it's fun. It's one of like poetry and improvisation are the two places, like I said earlier, where I can feel present. Same with cooking. Same with even like driving. Yeah. I really like driving.
Me too.
I drive all the time. And I like road trips. Over the pandemic, I did 7 road trips.
Oh my God, amazing.
Where was
the favorite place you went?
Probably Brooklyn.
Really? Okay, cool.
It was pretty magical.
I can see you there, yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
It's so fun.
It's just listening to music, podcasts, and just being one with the road, seeing the world instead of flying over it or staying in one place, but
going
through it and meeting people and seeing some strange characters and weird restaurants and too many Confederate flags.
Yeah.
But when you see the Confederate flag, first of all, I don't like it. I don't agree with it. But when you see the world that it's within, it starts to make more sense than seeing a Trump rally.
Yeah.
That's put on CNN. It's like, I want not that I agree with it, but I want to see it to have a better understanding. Just like to hear that neighborhoods are bad. It's like, well, did you ever drive past down Pulaski on Madison on the west side of Chicago, or 63rd and Ashland on the south side of Chicago? Like, do you actually know these neighborhoods and how bad it really is? It's helpful to drive or walk or go through the world instead of skipping over it or staying put and looking at the world through your phone.
Well, that's what's so crazy. You know, we see everything on our Instagram, and I see, you know, the war in Ukraine, and then like a birthday cake, a dog on a scooter, and then a dead person. It's
so topsy-turvy.
It's so hard to process. And I can't imagine being in this situation. Is probably a very different feeling, you know? So yeah, I would love to do more road trips, but
you don't do them a lot?
I do. It's just, I love to drive, but I can get very distracted when I drive.
How long have I been driving for?
Exactly. Well, not even that, just like, oh, look, a deer, you know, I'm just, but now
so you're
I'm getting
distracted
full,
easily and you have a bad memory.
Yeah.
Have you been tested for like Alzheimer's or dementia?
You know what? I probably should. But here's the thing. I can remember every lyric and I can remember like every visual thing.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, and in high school, well, it's a bit of a processing problem. I got diagnosed with that. So I also got out of taking notes during class because when someone's doing a lecture, I can't obtain the information because it's like just a verbal thing. So my friends would just take the notes and then they would just photocopy them for me. So I would just have to really focus on what they're saying to me.
For those just
so I just really checked out
and not watching, she's doing the finger air quotes.
Well, I got suspended because I was listening to a Diana Ross album in math with like a hood up with my AirPods. And my mom was like,
it's a good reason to get suspended.
I know. My mom was like, I don't know if I should be more upset you got suspended or you're like 14 listening to Diana Ross. Like, that's very dorky.
Niia, we're concerned about you.
Yeah.
That's so funny. So you have like you got tested and have like a processing?
Yeah, it's like it's a oratory thing where I have a hard time processing information that's verbally given to me. Okay. But visually, I'm really good. So, for example, I always got off the honor roll because of math and chemistry. Like, I failed chemistry. And then she saw me in the musical, and she said, oh, you're not just like a deadbeat slacker. You just don't excel here. So she didn't fail me. She gave me a C-.
I had extremely similar situation in high school. Like, almost
How?
verbatim.
I don't believe you.
So I have dyslexia.
Oh, okay.
I have a really bad time with words. That's why I like poetry so much, because it's like I make the rules.
Yes.
I don't follow. I'm speaking a language, but I make the rules on where I want to put everything.
Yes.
So dyslexia, mixing things a lot, and like kind of like a slight speech impediment where I might stutter, have to like re-say a word, which is difficult when you're in high school. As an adult, people aren't quite as cruel.
Also, dyslexia is one that people don't really take seriously, and it's very serious.
They overlook it, and it's like, look at my emails after I write them. I have to reread them 20 times because the is H-E-T again.
Yeah.
And it's not how you spell the.
Yeah.
But that's how it is in my head when I type it, and I look, and I'm like, that's, oh my God.
That's not it, yeah.
The simplest word is backwards.
Wow.
And again, so I would do poor in certain classes, but I did really well in like art class and more particularly the like wood shop.
Oh,
I've always been into building stuff. So using like design,
creative, your hands, everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I really like using my hands to build things. So I would do really well in those classes, and the teacher would see that, but I'd do poor in this class. So they would kind of like let me slide, give me the lowest grade, like a 70.
Totally, that's what happened to me.
And I would show up and do the work. I just couldn't do it well.
Exactly, I just couldn't get it. And my mom was like, "What's going on? I see her studying," and they're like, "We think she has a problem." But it was so frustrating though, because I had like A's and everything, advanced choral, creative writing off the charts. Biology, I was great because it was all visual. I love dissecting stuff. But chemistry, they asked me not to take physics. My class said, "We love Niia, but like we don't want to deal with this."
That's hysterical.
Yeah,
but that's the problem with the education system. Like being within it now. Not only are there not enough funds in the arts, which is a whole other story.
That's very true, yeah.
But like you take a student, this person, he's 14, she's 14, they're 14, going into high school, and you go, all right, here are these 7 subjects that we all said you have to take. But it's like, what if I'm only good at that? What if I'm just a phenomenal musician?
Yeah.
What if I just want to sing and play jazz? And like chemistry and biology has nothing to do with that. I get why it's there.
And why we need a little basis.
It's there. You never know.
When have you used the periodic table?
Not much. I like knowing the first 5 because it's how we all got here up to carbon, and I'm good.
See, I don't even remember that. No,
it's just what stardust is, you know? Like
yeah.
you go up to carbon, you know, as long as you know hydrogen, helium, oxygen,
that's all I
and
got.
argon and iron. As long as you know like the first 5, 6, you're like, okay, that's everything.
That's it.
We're good.
Yeah.
The rest are who knows.
I know.
But yeah, you're right. I don't know. It's not often I use that stuff.
I know. Well, one of my big goals of why I want to keep doing this also and start making more money is to start more creative arts camps because, you know, my school was so academic. I felt very isolated from the rest of the girls where I would skip class to go play the piano in the chapel. And I got into this like arts camp thing where they pick kids all around the country and in all the different disciplines. So it was like dance, creative writing, music. And they flew us all to Miami to do a week kind of workshop thing. And it was the first time before moving to New York, I met other kids. I was probably like 16 that were all artists or just excelled in the arts. And it was the first time I felt like a sense of community. And it was frustrating because my school never really acknowledged that it wasn't very art heavy. But now, you know, I'm a notable alum now. They kept me on probation, academic probation, my whole high school life. But now in their Wikipedia, it's like a noted alum.
That's what I'm like. We have a lot of parallels.
Yes, I'm glad because
My high school.
I clearly am bitter about it. So as you can tell,
I was bitter about it too because I was voted class bum.
class bum?
Yeah.
No way.
They give out awards
What
at
do
like
you-
the senior banquet.
What is a class bum?
Apparently I was a person who just looks and acts like a bum. But the irony of that is I was at a job interview the night they gave out the award while everyone was there who wasn't working. So who's the bum? But
Yeah, I
so I
feel
win
like-
class
hey.
bum, which is like the lowest achievement.
That's not a
'Cause
good
they had
one.
like, these awards would never exist now. PC culture wouldn't allow for it.
Yeah.
They had like best looking, most likely to succeed, class clown, best hair, best, you know, whatever, all that stuff, and class bum. So I win class bum. I have this trophy. It's my biggest achievement because it's pushed me to go so many other places.
Yeah.
I have class bum from my high school, and then 14 years later, I got this award in January, which is like a lifetime achievement award.
Wow.
It's called the Distinguished Alumni Award. I'm like the youngest person,
That's-
one of the youngest people to ever get it. And
How ironic, though.
I know. So I have them next to each other. Distinguished Alumni Award. My name's on a brick in the wall of the school forever.
That's insane.
And then the Class Bum Award, which
Oh my
is just
God.
amazing because of the work I've done with the fest, raising money for the
Yeah,
arts and
that's incredible.
doing a fest at the school for the students, which is great. But it's funny because, like you said, you're on that Wikipedia page,
Yeah,
a
I'm
notable
like,
alum.
y'all hated me.
But then while you're there, they're like, who is this
Yeah,
dork, this
I
loser who
know.
can't pass chemistry?
I know.
Don't take physics. That's really funny,
I know.
actually.
Well, you know, I feel like these stories are actually pretty common among artists. You know, we were
Yeah.
a little bit misunderstood in our high schools.
Very
You know,
misunderstood.
but if I didn't have these creative arts experiences, I wouldn't be who I am.
Yeah.
You know, I needed them to kind of remind me that what I'm doing is cool
Mm-hmm.
and that it's okay. I'm awful at school and don't want to like go to field hockey. I'd rather
No.
just like sing jazz.
Yeah, there's some kids when I always go back to schools to guest speak in that school too. And have you ever done that?
They've asked, I haven't gone back. I should do it.
You should
though.
do it, or any high school, because
Yeah.
at this point,
I would love to do it. Yeah,
you
that'd be fun.
you could definitely do it even in LA. It's
Yeah.
I recommend it because at first it seems pointless or futile or like, what do you get out of it? But like last week, I received an email from a girl who goes to DePaul University in Chicago for film and documentary. And she emailed me asking if she can make her final project a documentary about me and what I
Oh,
do.
wow.
Because when I went to Argo, my high school, to speak in her English AP class, I inspired her to follow her dreams, and she's looked up to me ever since.
Oh, that's incredible.
So she went to school for this stuff. And so that's like super heavy.
Of course.
Especially it's extra different when it's like opposite sex.
Yeah,
Like if it was a boy to you or a girl to me, it's just different.
Yeah.
You don't really expect that.
of course.
So it's like nice. And like, that's just one person who decided to reach out.
Yeah.
You never know. There could be
Yeah.
dozens. So you never know who you can inspire.
I know, I guess. And I would love to. And I just feel like what you were saying earlier, they're cutting arts programs.
Yeah.
And even for people that aren't in the arts and don't know if they want to like pursue it maybe the same way I did, it's still good to do it.
Yeah.
It's still good for our emotional, like, you know, people should all I don't know. I think we all should be artistic in some way at some point in our lives,
Something.
especially when you're young. It's an
Anything.
outlet, you know?
Yeah. What other forms did you find yourself doing? Because everyone
to
knows an
draw.
artist never just one thing.
I know. I love to draw, actually.
Draw?
I really like to sketch. I love movies. I'm a huge film buff.
Me too.
Yeah, film is one of my favorites. But probably just like, and I used to dance when I was little, but I was awful. But probably drawing, music, and movies.
Have you seen, it came out, I think in December, Come On, Come On?
No,
With
what's
Joaquin
that
Phoenix.
One? No, I didn't know that was out yet.
It's good, but it's in black and white, filmed in New York.
Is that the one
It's great
where
because it's
he's
like audio
the dad?
based. He's
What
an uncle,
uncle.
and he takes care of a kid, and he's always bringing his gear with because he does podcast interviews.
Oh my God.
It's actually, I loved it. It was
sure.
great because they used a lot of the audio from the source of like
wow.
the mic from their
Amazing.
perspective. So the sound design was really cool.
Okay, I'm gonna watch it. I thought I saw a preview for it. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch that when it comes out. But too much stuff is I can't remember anything, and also I haven't seen it. There's too many movies coming out.
Yeah, it was that was really good. I really like Parallel Mothers with Penelope Cruz.
I haven't seen that one either. I'm dying to see that one.
That was good
I
too.
love his,
Crazy twist.
I love. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I love his movies. So
Weird ending, but the twist along the way were like, whoa, was not expecting that.
I'm excited for that one.
What's another good one I saw?
Did you see the Hand of God, the Italian one?
No,
That
I want
one
to see
was
that.
really
It
beautiful.
was good.
Yeah.
Your parents, are they from Italy?
My
or?
mother's from Italy, so we grew up watching like way too explicit, violent Italian movies.
Like westerns, like spaghetti
well,
westerns?
yeah, just like bad, like Cinema Paradiso, like just incredible cinema and stuff where you're like, when you're like 6, you're like, this is traumatizing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just had a love for foreign films, I think. And a lot of Danish films I really like and French stuff. So, but I just think people don't advertise them as much. Like when I'm scrolling through Netflix or even Apple, they don't have that many good foreign films. I have to really
not
dig.
foreign ones. Not enough.
Yeah, I just watched the Spanish one that Planetara is what I want to say. La Planta.
Planta.
It's one of my favorite movies this year, La Planta, and it's a female director. She stars in it, she wrote it, and her mother's in it, and it's
Whoa.
unbelievable. And it's
Really?
very simple. Like, you know, there's not even that much camera movement. A lot of it is still, because I'm sure the budget wasn't very big, but it's winning all these awards just because when you don't have a big budget, you have to be creative.
You have to.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and like
absolutely.
the story is so simple but so heavy.
What streaming service is it on?
I don't even know. I think I
I had
had
to pay to rent it?
Yeah, La Planta or Planta.
Okay.
I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, but it's beautiful. It's one of my favorites because it was such a quiet little movie, but I cried and I left being like, that was probably one of the most interesting stories, and
I'll
how
check
she
that out.
depicted it. It was great.
I'll have to check that
Yeah,
out.
it was great. I love movies.
I do too. It was funny. It was almost like counterintuitive to go to a theater. Everyone's like, I don't want to go because of COVID. And I was like, go because no one's there.
That's true.
So I would go to
Yeah.
these, especially like more of the art theaters.
Yeah.
I'd be the only one there. It's like,
Did you
okay.
see Dune?
I saw Dune.
What'd you think?
I never read the book and I
Neither
never
did
saw
I.
the old ones, like the David Lynch
Same.
one. So I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really well made, but I like was kind of lost in the whole lore of it.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
But I was intrigued. I kind of want to see it again.
Yeah,
You know, I thought it was a really beautiful looking like
Yeah.
sci-fi movie.
of course. Yeah.
And I thought, you know, the acting was great. The sound design was really cool. I'm very much into sound design.
Yeah, that I remember after I saw that. I saw it at one of those theaters with the crazy sound
Mm-hmm.
system, and I remember being like, I downloaded the soundtrack in the parking lot, and I smoked a Camel Crush and like blasted the Dune.
Camel Crush?
Yeah, I was smoking a cigarette, listening to the Dune soundtrack.
Do you
driving.
smoke cigarettes off?
No, it was just
was gonna
like
say, as a singer.
the score was so
The score
crazy
is really cool.
that I was just like, dum, 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 like driving home. I was like,
Scores
yes!
and cinematography and sound design like capture my heart.
Yeah.
Because it's what brings you into it. And usually when those are good, everything else is good too.
Yeah.
Like, you ever see Tenet?
Yes,
The score for that movie
insane.
is
I
insane.
think
I bought
that-
it on vinyl recently.
Really?
Yeah, because I couldn't help
think the
myself.
score was the best part of that movie.
It was. I agree. I watched it 4 times. I was like,
I still don't know.
still don't really get
what's
it.
going on.
reverse entropy. I'm like,
Yeah, I know.
crazy cool concept. I really enjoyed the cinematography of the reversing because they really did that.
That's crazy.
And you're like,
Well, yeah.
the airplane reverse fire thing, like that really happened.
That's
like,
insane.
pretty remarkable. So where it achieved was the cinematography and the score,
Yeah.
and then where it lacked was like, this story's I think Christopher Nolan pushed it too far.
Yeah,
with
or
this story.
Yeah.
You know,
Or we were missing 3 pages from the script.
yeah, someone lost it.
Someone
Someone made a weird edit.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Someone
with
quit mid script.
That's how I feel with the Batman.
I didn't see that yet.
No.
I hear it's cool looking.
The way you said it, you're like, I didn't see that yet. Like, you already made up your mind.
Yeah.
I could tell.
Also, you know, I know this story.
Do you know who Batman is?
I mean, but I also love Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz.
Is kind of amazing.
And I love that Robert Pattinson is a vampire and it took him this long to become a bat.
That's good.
I like the casting and I hear the look because I love cinematography too. I hear the look is really cool. Like
look
the
is
goth
very cool.
And everyone's like, it's so you, Niia. I'm like, okay, cool.
What are you trying to say?
Well, this like kind of droll heroin chic thing. I'm like, all right.
Heroin chic thing?
Well, you never heard that term?
I have. I'm just trying to think of it applied
It's
to
kind of
you.
like strung out, cool, gothy.
Oh, okay. I've met strung out people. You know?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I mean,
you look
I
pretty
love
well
kale.
kept.
Yeah, I love kale.
I love kale and lotions and steams.
But you know, I like, yeah.
I see.
I hear it's really cool though.
It's the tattoos. It's the zero.
Maybe it's like
tattoo
a
on
little
the hand.
alt.
You don't have many tattoos, but you have mine.
I have few.
You have them on your hand, like the places people see, which
I
is
know. It's
the
more
opposite of what people do.
Yeah, it's more for me. These are all. That's why they're all pretty shitty tattoos, and they're all blown out. But I have Tony Soprano. Well, you didn't ask. I have a few. Yeah. You didn't ask what they are.
Can you tell me? So there's the 3.
3, it's my favorite number.
Okay. R.
It's also David Chase, who's my favorite director. I love The Sopranos.
You're Italian, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But he writes everything in 3s. David Chase. Tony Soprano.
What do you mean
of
writes
course.
everything in 3s?
Everything has like a trilogy kind of thing where the character, everything happens in 3s. So there'll be an episode where something has to resolve in always 3 times.
Okay.
Something, I don't know. I'm not explaining it perfectly. But
I get what you're saying.
it's like the Holy Trinity for him. There's like a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's also my favorite number. R is for my dog Rocco, who died. He was a tough guy, so I put him on my knuckles. 0s are my favorite. Did you ask?
I did.
Okay.
Your
I was like,
memory really is that bad.
I know. So I have 2 0s. I have a Chopin tattoo.
Nice.
I have this, which is from the movie Irreversible. Have you ever seen that one? Gaspar Noé.
No.
The French. It's
No.
upsetting if you like really upsetting movies and dark.
I do.
It's really disturbing. It's a French film.
Upsetting movies are. I mean,
This one's very dark. You'll need like a weekend to recover.
I mean, is it really dark like Schindler's List?
It's up there.
Or like
it's a different type of dark. It's
like
very
Nymphomaniac dark?
darker.
Okay.
People walked out of the movie theater for it. Gaspar Noé. You've seen Enter the Void?
Yeah.
So it's the same director.
Okay.
This one has Monica Bellucci and Vincent Cassel
Okay. I know they are.
when they were dating. And Vincent Cassel had to go check himself into a psych ward after he shot this with his wife because it was that hard to shoot.
Okay. I'm
and
in it.
I have it, and it's usually the log line's in French, and it says "Time destroys everything." So that's what I have here.
And it's called
Irreversible.
Irreversible. Yeah, I got to remember these movies.
Yeah, it's really.
You'll have
good.
to send them to me. I like this.
Yeah,
That's cool.
That's a good one.
I'm like happy that someone's been tortured in a movie. And they had it like, I'm like, that's amazing. Can I watch this?
Well, you know, I saw it once, and it impacted my life, and also the sentence "time destroys everything." My mom's like, "That's so depressing. Why would you have that on you?" I'm like, because it kind of reminds me that nothing really matters. So it kind of helps me let go and not be so neurotic about everything. So I kind of have them all as cues. They all help me through.
Should I watch it alone? With friends?
Definitely not on a date. Definitely not on a date. No way.
I really enjoy
that.
Like,
she will run.
She will run? What if she's cool? What if she's just like me? What if she's like you?
It depends where she is on female rights.
Oh.
Like it's just very hard to watch. It's hard.
I would hope that the person's logical enough to separate that from it's a movie.
Yeah.
Like why run?
I love fighting and explicit stuff, but even I had to look away at some scenes.
Really?
It's crazy.
Okay.
It's probably. I think it's one of the most violent films ever made.
Was it NC-17?
I don't know what it is. I don't. It's
It didn't get a rating. It was
just
so bad.
insane. I love it though. It's my favorite.
You're like,
it's just
disgusted,
incredible cinema.
and then you smile and go,
but
it's insane. It's like what I like.
It feels real. It's like insane cinema. No one makes movies like that because it's a lot.
There's no money in it. That's why they don't do it.
That's probably true.
I mean, it's like one of my favorite movies are Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson.
One of my favorite movies too.
Right?
That score, Mika Levy. Woo!
I have been saying forever.
Me too.
It's the best score ever made.
It is.
And everyone, I say it, my friends think I'm a dork because they go, sure, Ben, you're going on a rant again. I finally Google best scores ever made, and it's number one.
Yes,
it's on Pitchforks.
you're right. Yes.
I'm like, so I'm not crazy.
I know.
It's amazing.
I met her at a bar once, and she was so cool.
What?
And I wanted her to do some string arrangements.
How do you just go to, you have lunch
well,
with
I like
Laura Lee,
stalked
you
her.
go to a bar and you meet?
Well, you know, I have
What?
some people on my team that can connect the dots, but she was so cool, and
need a
it didn't
team.
work out just because it was before Under the Skin too. So, but she did the score for that one with Natalie Portman too, and she just did
Yes.
Zola, which is
Wait,
really great.
Jackie.
Yes, she did
Oh my
that, which
God,
was
that's my
beautiful
second
too.
favorite score,
And then
so-
did you see Zola yet?
No.
That one she did the score for, and it's really funny.
Do you think she did Spencer, the same director that did Jackie? With
I don't
Kristen
think I haven't
Stewart?
seen that.
I haven't
But I
either.
love Mika Levy. I'm so happy you know her too, because
Yeah.
not many people do. And Under the Skin, Jonathan Glazer. Come on,
Well, Niia, people aren't as cool as we are.
I know.
I've
Or they
been-
just don't want to. You know, it's crazy, which you will be really jealous. There was a showing of Under the Skin in LA with a live orchestra, and they did the score live with the movie.
And you went to it
Yeah, alone.
alone.
Yeah, with an edible. It was amazing.
I wish we knew each other. I would have
well,
went.
now we do. Now
I
I'll
would have
let you-
totally like the edible
no one
thing,
wanted to come with me.
and then we went and watched Formula One after.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Like an edible score? Oh
A
my
mild
God.
edible.
1 million grams or
But
none.
then I was
my
like, oh my God,
God.
it's happening in the room.
I'm like mad right now.
It was really fun. And my friends were like,
so
I don't
cool.
care. Yeah. They're like, that movie was too long. I'm like, oh my God.
It wasn't too long.
No, it wasn't. Do you know all those people she picked up weren't actors?
I know.
Isn't that okay? You know that.
Oh, I
okay.
went way into
We
it.
know. Okay,
We
great.
know.
You're on my level. Okay, good.
Nerd. When
Yes,
I watch a movie, I watch it again with Wikipedia open.
I love it.
I watch it again without that, and then I watch it again with, and I like I want to know everything. I want to know the art to the tech, to the production, to the distribution. I want to know all of it
Yeah.
because it's all part of the industry. It's all how it all works. I want to
Totally.
get it. So I can, once you learn a lot, it's like learning music theory. It's a misconception to learn and be like, oh, now it's going to control me. It's like, no, you can lose control once
Totally.
you know how everything works.
Totally.
So it's the same thing with these art forms. Once I get how it all works, I can get lost in it again.
Yep.
But then if I have to go to that place, I can have this conversation. And
Yes.
it's nice, but it's also a personality type. Not everyone's, they just want to have suspension of disbelief, watch, Thor with his hammer one more time, and then
know.
go on home.
I just found out Fast and Furious went to space in their last movie. Did you know that?
No, I haven't seen those in years.
Neither. They're now in space, or like.
Well, where else could they go?
But where are
Sky's
they
the
going to go
limit.
next? It's too
Mars,
furious. I mean,
they
they
they'll
went
bring
in a
Tesla
car
to Mars.
apparently
I don't
too.
know.
I don't know. I can't. I think about it
And
now
those
every
movies
day.
make so much money.
I know.
And then you'll get those really cool art films, the the avant-garde stuff that make $300,000, and you're like, I don't understand. They're so good.
Well, it's hard for people to focus. You have to be kind of trained. I feel like if I didn't grow up watching very slow old Italian movies, I wouldn't understand it as
Yeah.
much. But I think people are missing out if they don't watch
Yeah.
some of these. So
Absolutely. I mean, I don't get the length thing because people love podcasts. They
That's
love
true.
listening to records all day. They love binging a TV
That's
show.
true.
They'll watch
That's
Game of
true.
Thrones forever. So, like, why can't you watch a 2 or 3 hour movie?
probably because the editing is much slower, though.
Yeah. It's a mental thing because when you get that break, you get to go to the bathroom, go
Yeah.
put on another episode. It's
Yeah.
different from watching the 3-hour Batman thing. Was a big complaint people had. I didn't have it. I liked it.
Yeah.
I personally wanted to watch the 4-hour cut that apparently Matt Reeves did.
4 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because then I go,
Yeah.
then there's more fun information that I could learn from this story. But
Totally. Well, also when I watch TV, sometimes I'm like, there's 42 cuts, and they're saying 2 sentences. Like, it just, I'm having a seizure.
Uh-huh.
It's just.
the fast paced editing drives me nuts.
Yeah. Anyway,
that
sorry.
no, it's kind of funny how many things we have in common.
I love it.
actually.
That's
See,
great.
I was not expecting that at all.
Well, hello. Here I am, your new friend.
It's great.
Yes.
Is there anything? I think we're probably at 2 hours. We are at 2 hours.
Perfect.
Let's talk about leaving this podcast. Maybe
Yes.
plug anything you'd like to plug.
Oh, I'm so bad at plugging. Well, I just released a new ambient record called Mouthful of Salt. It's out now.
It's great. I could vouch. I listened to it twice.
Thank you. And that's about it.
That's it.
I'm Niia, and I love things. I don't know.
Check me out. Follow you on everything.
Oh, yeah.
Support you.
Yes.
Get into your music.
Yes,
You're a
all
talented
that.
musician and artist.
Thank you.
It's been amazing to meet you. I had a great time last night at your show.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see all the things you do, and I'll keep bothering you.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
You're
This has
welcome.
been really lovely.
It's been really fun.
Yes.
It's been wonderful to get to know you.
Yes. Friends now.
Friends now. Take care.
Thanks.